The 2023 NHL draft was one of the best drafts in recent memory. Connor Bedard going number 1 to the Chicago Blackhawks, Leo Carlsson number 2 to the Anaheim Ducks, and then Adam Fantilli, he's going number 3 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. These three guys are going to be critical to the rebuilds of each of their respective teams. However, I've taken them off their respective teams, and today they're on the Atlanta Dragons, and I'm going to be rebuilding this team until one of these three guys retires. They're all going to be playing on the same team together. We're going to be creating a dynasty here. However, we're going to be starting as a 0 overall team. So outside of these three guys right here, this team's going to be absolutely abysmal. Now, we're not necessarily a 0 overall team, because if you are a 0 overall team, the game just crashes. So these are the lowest overall free agents available. We threw them onto this Atlanta Dragons team, and now it's time to rebuild them and create a dynasty. Now, it should go without saying that for season number 1, we're not making any trades here. We're just going to simulate through the entire season, get through the postseason, and then hopefully this team gets the number 1 overall pick, and then we can add another superstar to this team. So without further ado, let's simulate to the end of the season. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. This is how many subscribers I have right now, and I'm trying to hit 60,000 by the end of the month. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and drop a like while you're at it. Let's get 1,500 likes on today's video. Now, off the rip, I'm incredibly impressed with the Atlanta Dragons. 33rd in the entire league here, but we had 11 wins. Considering we really only had 3 players on this team, I'll take 11 wins. Now, of course, the real question is, how did our top guys perform here? Connor Bedard 79 points, Leo Carlsson 78, and Adam Fantilli 64. The fact that Connor Bedard only had 1 more point than Leo Carlsson is very surprising, considering he is a 91 overall now. Okay, at the beginning of the season, he was only an 86. Leo Carlsson, he's an 83, and Fantilli an 85. Why did Bedard just jump so high? Like, he increased in overall. Meanwhile, these other two guys didn't really do too much when it came to development. I'm not concerned because, I mean, 19 years old. But yeah, Connor Bedard, keep doing your thing. So here's the postseason. The Colorado Avalanche are winning the Stanley Cup, taking down the Boston Bruins in a 7-game series. But we don't care about that. We care about the draft lottery results. Now, ideally, what we want here is a franchise potential defenseman. We have enough elite forwards on this team. We need good defensemen. We're actually going to be keeping the 1st overall pick, which is incredibly surprising. But we want a defenseman, and hopefully there's some auto-generated guy that's going to be an elite defenseman. Did I mention we want a defenseman? Not too sure if I did. So unfortunately, the projected 1st overall pick here is not going to be a defenseman. But you know what? We're still going to take this guy. 81 overall, left wing playmaker. There's a good chance that this guy gets traded though. I actually don't know. I might take that statement back. There is a defenseman here that's projected in the top 5. I'm kind of curious to see what he turns into. If he's like an 82 overall defenseman or something, more than likely we're going to be trading the 1st overall pick away. So the Dallas Stars should be selecting this defenseman. 74 overall offensive defenseman. I feel like that would be very beneficial for this team. We might be trading the guy we just got 1st overall. I just want to inquire with the Dallas Stars. See what they're looking for. Alright, so I have a plan here. The guy we selected 1st overall over to the Dallas Stars will get Culp and a 1st round pick. Obviously, we're going to have to include more in this deal. Probably our 2nd rounder. But that's actually perfectly fine. If we can get this deal done right here, that would be massive for us. Alright, we got that defenseman, but we got Dallas's 1st round pick for next season. That's incredibly important. Now, this draft is going to continue to be very good for us because we're going to be securing a medium elite potential goaltender with the 67th overall. But that's not the only good prospect we're bringing in here, because the 100th overall is going to be a massive splash for this team. We're going to get a medium elite potential left winger who happens to be a playmaker. So we just traded a playmaker away who had medium elite potential, and now we've drafted another one. The only difference, this guy's a 48 overall. So him developing into an actual elite potential player, there's a big question mark there. But we're not done there, because with the 166th overall, a low elite potential left winger. We've been drafting a lot of left wingers in this draft, but honestly, I'm not even focused on position right now. I'm focusing strictly on potential. Okay, so this is the reason that we traded for that Dallas Stars 1st round pick. The Atlanta Dragons, of course, our pick's going to have more trade value, the 2029 pick. But you have to consider one thing. We have this many players on this team, and only 3 of them are actually under contract. So we have 3 players under contract. Like, 3 guys are going to play in the NHL next season, and we only have this much more trade value than the Dallas Stars. This pick, we're about to trade away. And the reason I wanted that Dallas Stars 1st round pick is because I want Brock Faber. He's going to be the number 1 defenseman for us in the future. I don't think this 1st round pick is going to be enough, but I'm going to offer it over. The 1st rounder, it's not going to be enough. We have some other assets we can work with here. Potentially this right defenseman right here, he's only a 48 overall, but he has trade value. I'm going to send this over to the Minnesota Wild. They're still saying no. We'll send in a few more draft picks, but not too many. I'll try this 2025 third round pick. I think that might be enough to bring in Brock Faber. They're going to say no to that deal. A 2026 fourth rounder. This might be the most I'm willing to offer though. So this package right here for Brock Faber, they're going to be saying no. We'll try 2 third rounders. I don't know why I'm acting like I'm not willing to throw second rounders in this deal. I will absolutely if we have to. So I'm taking out these third rounders, and now it's time to include a second. So here's a second rounder for 2025. Actually, we're going to do a second rounder for 2026. Doesn't really make much of a difference, but you know what? There's quite a bit of trade value in these picks right here. I'm sending that over. They're going to be saying no. A third round pick's going to be involved. Okay, basically, we're trading for Brock Faber. All of these assets right here, we're going to get this deal done. But you know what? That's a massive move for us. We have a number 1 defenseman, 3 future Hall of Famers. This team's set for the future. So with that trade completed, we have $85 million in cap space. It's time to make some moves. I want to make sure that Brock Faber has a stellar defenseman to play alongside, so Forsling, here's $7 million for the next 5 years. Stick on the ice, legend Max Domi. We're going to be keeping you around long term here. We're doing 3.7 for the next 6 years. We already know what you're going to develop into. This is a great deal for us. Tyler Bertuzzi, I guess you're another guy we could bring to the team for the next 2 years. We'll do $6.3 million for 2 seasons. I'll have you play some top 6 minutes, and I'll trade you away at 50% retained next season. We'll also bring Patrick Kane in on a 1-year deal and then trade him away at 50% retained. We'll do $11.3 million for 1 year. We'll put him on the top 6, probably alongside Adam Fantilli, because Connor Bedard is going to be playing some top line minutes. Maybe Connor Bedard and Patrick Kane. That actually could be the move as well. Another guy we'll bring in on a 1-year deal. That's going to be Joe Pavelski. We'll do $9.6 million for 1 season. I see the potential in a guy like Jake DeBrusk for the long term here, so we're going to do 4.5 for the next 7 years. And then Carrier, I believe you could be a very good defenseman for us in the future. $3.3 million for the next 7 years. That's going to be a contract that ages pretty well. And another contract that's going to age really well for us, that's going to be Jake Bean, 3.5 for the next 5. Unfortunately, that would mean we would have to give up a second round pick. And honestly, I'm actually okay with that. Now, I think that's going to be the main moves I make here. I'm going to simulate the rest of the offseason. I'm going to allow the CPU to sign a ton of guys here. But the core pieces that I want on this team, I've locked down. Before we sim to the end of the offseason, though, we got to make sure we lock Brock Faber down long term here. So we're doing 8 years at $6 million. For an 85 overall at 21 years old, you're not going to get a contract better than that. So this is what we're going to be rocking with for this season. It's going to be Connor Bedard, Leo Carlsson, and Joe Pavelski on that first line. A 91, a 92, and an 88 overall. We're going to be scoring a lot of goals with this first line right here. The second line, Jake DeBrusk. I'm hoping you develop into like an 87 overall player in the future. And Fantilli an 85, and then Patrick Laine a 91. Patrick Laine is going to be great for the development of these 2 guys right here. The bottom 6, obviously, is not going to be good outside of Max Domi and Tyler Bertuzzi. But you know what? I'm not expecting this team to be good this season. Defensively, Brock Faber and Forsling, they're going to be the future of this team. Well, Forsling's not going to be, but for the next 5 years, he's going to be crucial to the success of this team. While Brock Faber, just keep on developing. Ideally, you get up to a 90 overall. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but you know what? You're going to be the franchise potential defenseman for us. Meanwhile, the goaltending, I guess we're rocking a 68 overall and a 65. Once again, we're just focused on tanking here. We're going to probably tank for 3 seasons, and then the dynasty is going to begin. I don't want to rush the process here, trade a bunch of picks away, trade some assets that we don't have. We just got to take it year by year. So let's go ahead, simulate up to the trade deadline, trade a couple guys at 50% retained, get some assets, then get ready to make some moves next season. Okay, what you're about to see makes absolutely no sense. The Atlanta Dragons are not a completely poverty franchise right now. We are 20th in the entire league with a 32, 26, and 5 record. We do realize we don't have a bottom 6, we don't have goaltending, and we don't have third pairing defensemen. 20th in the entire league. Got to give credit where credit is due. These guys are showing up. It's an absolutely spectacular season from Kane right now. 80 points here, and Fantilli 65, Leo Carlsson 65, and Connor Bedard 66. At 19 years old, this man is washed. Not the guy he used to be. We got to trade him away. Bro's cooked. No, but in all seriousness, the fact that Patrick Kane has 80 points right now, we're going to trade him at 50% retained, get a handful of assets. Joe Pavelski, 50% retained, a handful of assets. This team's going to be really good next season, that's for sure. All right, so I'm trying to craft up the biggest package imaginable. Patrick Kane, 50% retained. Joe Pavelski, 50% retained, and one of our goaltenders sent over to the Boston Bruins. Pavel Zacha, Jeremy Swayman, and a first-round pick for 2026. No way this deal would actually get accepted. That would be so massive for us. Can I get their second round pick as well? I'm going to offer this package over now. I can still get this deal done. Can I get your first round pick for this season as well? Like hypothetically, if I take this second round route and actually just get the first rounder instead, could I get this deal done? So Swayman, 2 first round picks, and Pavel Zacha. They're going to say no, but considering what we were offering before and they are willing to accept a second rounder, hold on, if I did a deal like this, they're going to say no, we just need to sweeten the value a little bit. Okay, This is ridiculous. We're getting Pavel Zacha, Jeremy Swayman, 2 first-round picks for Patrick Kane 50%, Joe Pavelski 50%, this goaltender that we don't care about, a 3rd rounder, and a 7th rounder. That is huge for this franchise. That's the only move we're going to make here. We're simulating to the end of the season. We're going to tank. We're going to get a top 10 pick. This team's destined for success. I can't wait to see the team we build here. Okay, so I was fully convinced that after we made the trades we did, we would completely tank and be a bottom 5 team. That's actually not exactly what happened. 17th in the entire league with a 42, 33, and 7 record. We were actually really good after the trade deadline. And on top of that, we actually only missed the postseason by 1 point. We were tied with Washington for that final spot, but they held the tiebreaker. So we almost made the postseason in year number 2. Now, Connor Bedard, only 87 points in year number 2. I was expecting 130. Leo Carlsson, a pretty solid season from you, 83 points. Adam Fantilli, 81. Can't complain about that. Jake DeBrusk, 60 points. That's a pretty good year. And Pavel Zacha, what'd you do since joining the team? 13 points in 19 games, 2 goals, 11 helpers. Not a bad season from you. And there's another guy we got to check on, of course. That's Jeremy Swayman. Since joining the team, I'm not expecting your numbers to be absolutely incredible, but they were a 932 and a 233. Okay, you might go down as one of the greatest goaltenders of all time because there is no reason your numbers should be this good right now. Also, did you sign a contract extension? Yes, you did. 6.5 for the next 2 years with the Boston Bruins. I'll take that deal. Now, unfortunately, I do have a little bad news this season, and that's the fact that the Boston Bruins won the Stanley Cup, so that 1st round pick we got for them is going to be the 33rd overall. However, we already know how I cook when it comes to trades. I'm going to turn that 33rd overall pick into something incredible. That's tough. All right, so let's just figure out what the 1st overall pick turned into. It's going to be a franchise potential player, isn't it? Okay, a medium elite potential defenseman. Not as bad as what I was thinking it was going to be. I thought this man was going to be like franchise potential 86 overall to begin his career. Unless Minnesota just completely missed and the next player has franchise potential. Alright, so we didn't miss out on any superstars. This is what I'm going to cook up with this 1st round pick from the Boston Bruins that basically has no value. That and the 4th rounder is going to the Vancouver Canucks, and we're getting Vancouver's 1st round pick for next season. We're going to trade that during the offseason when it spikes in value and bring in an elite potential player that's already an 85 overall. Chess, not checkers. Unfortunately, the draft wasn't as successful this time around, but with the 17th overall pick, we did get a player who has top 6 potential, and he's already a 71 overall. So that is a good sign for his development. So now it's going to be the expensive offseason, and this is where we're going to be spending money. Connor Bedard, $9.25 million for the next 8 years. Even though this is a lot of money, this is such a good deal for Connor Bedard. Leo Carlsson, we're also going to be locking you down long term here, and this is going to be another fantastic deal. So how does an 8x8 sound? And you have medium franchise potential now, so your development has been insane. Adam Fantilli, low franchise potential. Okay, these guys are going to be incredible. Fantilli, on the other hand, doesn't really want to sign a team-friendly deal, so we're actually going to wait on him a little bit. Like, bro only wants 4 years. Yeah, we got to do 8 years minimum. I also do want to point out Max Domi, up to an 86 overall. We could trade him immediately. Jake DeBrusk, 86. Pavel Zacha, an 87. No, we're actually building a super team here. Okay, so I think Seth Jarvis could be a very important piece to our team in the future. He's still a young player, only 23 years old, 86 overall already, and I think he could play some top 6 minutes for us. So Boston's 1st round pick and a 3rd round pick from the Atlanta Dragons is being sent over. Unfortunately, that's not going to be enough. We don't really have any prospects we can work with, but we do have draft picks. Here's a 5th rounder as well. Now, I've kind of gotten out of hand with trading draft picks away, but it's all for the future. We're working on building this team up. These are smart moves. Now, I think this is going to be the other trade we do. It's going to fill out the bottom 6, but JJ Peterka could also play on our top 6. It's going to be him and a 3rd rounder for Vancouver's 1st. Unfortunately, we're not getting this deal done simply, but I will throw a 3rd round pick in this, and I think it'll be pretty easy to get done. Did I say throw a 3rd round pick in the deal? A 7th round pick. I don't know what I'm talking about. All I know is a 1st and a 7th off to the Buffalo Sabres. We're getting JJ Peterka and a 3rd rounder. Now, I fully believe Seth Jarvis is going to develop into an 88 overall, and he's going to be a special player for our team, so I want to make sure I lock him down long term. And when I say long term, I'm talking 8 years here. So we're going to be looking at $7 million for the next 8 years. That might seem a bit expensive right now, but Seth Jarvis, I'm going to give you the potential to develop into a superstar player. So this contract's definitely going to be worth it. So Matt Japani, I'm actually very surprised on what your asking price is, considering you're an 85 overall. So here's $3.5 million for the next 5 years. I think that contract could age very well for us. Another contract I think could age very well for us, Kuzmenko, I'm going to do 5 years at $5.3 million. If you can be a top 6 guy for us, that's going to going to be great, but I don't even know why I signed you because we actually need help on the bottom 6. So that move was actually very stupid in hindsight. Alright, so we got to fill out the third pairing defense, and William Borgren, 3.1 for 3 years. That's a pretty good deal for you. And then we got to sign somebody to a 1-year deal. Brayden McNabb, I'll give you 2.8 for next season. So I think we're going to sign 2 more forwards here, but they're just going to be the 1-year deals. Pius Suter, I'll give you 2.5 for 1 season. And then Logan O'Connor will also do 1 year, 2.5 for you. Alright, so I'm actually completely capping because we do need a backup goaltender. Casey DeSmith here is $1 million for the next 2 years. That's a pretty good contract for you. Now that's our final free agent signing. Now Adam Fantilli is finally smartened up a little bit, and we're going to be able to get a reasonable deal done here. We're doing 9.5 for the next 8 years. So Bedard, Fantilli, and Leo Carlsson, they're all going to be locked down long term here. So there's one thing I want to mention right now. We're in season number 3 of the rebuild. Bedard's in 94 overall, Leo Carlsson in 89, Adam Fantilli in 89. But just look at this team. The lowest overall is going to be 81, Pius Suter on the 4th line. The rest of this team looks absolutely incredible. The defense absolutely spectacular here. We're going to have this young guy on the first pairing alongside Brock Faber, a 78 overall and an 88 overall. It probably makes a bit more sense to have Forsling up there, but you know what? We're rocking with the young rook. And in between the pipes, we already know who we got. Jeremy Swayman, 89 overall, high elite potential with the defense in front of him this season, and this team looking absolutely spectacular. I wouldn't be surprised if we won 50 games. So the Atlanta Dragons, who would have thought? Season number 3, 6th in the entire league with a 36, 18, and 9 record. The offense is great. The defense is great. Everything's great about this team. But we could make some improvements. We got the cap space to do so, and we got some assets. Connor Bedard, you're finally playing like that guy. 70 points here, 44 goals, 26 assists. Leo Carlsson, 67 points. Seth Jarvis, 60 points. I believed in you from the very beginning, and look at you now. Kuzmenko and Fantilli, I'm not going to lie, this is a bit disappointing right here. 45 points, 46 points, minus 13, minus 17. We might have to make a few changes here. Max Domi, 33 points, minus 11. This second line is just not it right now. The goaltending I can't complain about though, because Jeremy Swayman's holding it down. 31 wins, 4 shots, a 915, a 273. Keep doing your thing, but I think it's about time we make one trade. So I spent a good 10 minutes looking for trades here, and there's nothing really piquing my interest, so I don't think we're going to make any moves here. And honestly, that's not the end of the world, because this team's still looking fantastic. We're just going to rock with what we have here, and we're going to be competing for a Stanley Cup, that's for sure. We're 36, 18, and 9. Nothing to worry about right now. Now, we certainly didn't have the greatest finish to the season here, but you know what? We're still a great team. 8th in the entire league with a 45, 27, and 10 record. On top of not finishing the season out strong, we didn't have a great start as well, so I'll definitely take 8th in the entire league here. The offense is pretty solid, while the defense definitely could use a bit of work. Connor Bedard's going to be having a fantastic season here. 90 points, including 57 goals. Leo Carlsson, 81 points. Can't complain about that. Seth Jarvis, 75. Kuzmenko, 64. Adam Fantilli, 63. Honestly, I think we're going to be making a change to the second line, because right now this is not it right here. Fantilli, Kuzmenko, and Max Domi, it's just not a good fit. The goaltending numbers, can't really complain about these, but I definitely know they could be better. Jeremy Swayman, 38 wins, 4 shots, a 907 and a 297. If we can get a hot goaltender heading into the postseason here, then I think we're going to be able to surprise some teams. Then again, we do have to realize we are in season number 3 here. We have a ton of years ahead of us. So if we can win a Stanley Cup early on, I'll definitely take it. But if we can't, no need to worry. So I was fully expecting the Atlanta Dragons to close out in game 5, but we're getting absolutely destroyed 7-1. So hopefully that doesn't switch the momentum here. We got to close this series out fast, and luckily we're going to be doing it in game 6 here. So that was actually a massive upset over the New York Rangers, taking down the number 1 seed. We moved on to the second round. Now we're taking on the number 3 seed. I also do want to just point out the seeding of the playoffs right now. Number 4 Vegas taking on 2 Edmonton. Number 1 Minnesota taking on 3 Nashville. Then it's 4 versus 3, 4 versus 3 in the Eastern Conference. So there's been a lot of upsets so far, and I think they're going to continue into round number 2. Similar to our series against the New York Rangers, we're going to have a 3-1 series lead, but ideally we close this one out in game 5. Unfortunately, that's not happening here. We can't blow a 3-1 series lead though. So like the Rangers, we're going to close out in game 6. So we've moved on to the conference finals. We now have the number 3 Florida Panthers. Honestly, I believe we're a better team than the Florida Panthers. We've taken down some great teams so far in the postseason. I'm not really sure if Florida's ready for us. So for the 3rd series in a row, we're going to have a 3-1 series lead, and ideally we close this one out in game 5. That's exactly what's happening. We finally closed it out when it mattered, and now we're in the Stanley Cup final, and it looks like we might be taking on Edmonton. Connor Bedard versus Connor McDavid. That's must-see hockey. So here we are, the Stanley Cup final in year number 3. Who would have thought? No, like seriously, the Atlanta Dragons going from a 3-player team all the way to the Stanley Cup final in just 3 years makes absolutely no sense. However, this is going to be by far our toughest matchup. The Edmonton Oilers, we already know they have Connor McDavid. That's really all they need. All right, so it's time for the boys to lock in here. Okay, things are not looking good. We lost the first 3 games of the series, we're down 3-1. We have to spark the greatest comeback of all time, and it actually might happen. If we can win game 6 here, we're closing it out in game 7. Never mind, we just got shut out. Considering the fact that we won 2 straight games after being down 3-0 in the series, that's not that bad. I mean, it's bad. We almost got swept. What am I talking about? I can't gas this team up. Alright, so Leo Carlsson, Connor Bedard, and Seth Jarvis, you're the big 3 for the future. I mean, we also have Adam Fantilli here, but that second line is getting changed. This can't happen again. -13, -12. That line was just abysmal. I don't know why we were so bad on the second line, but it's definitely going to get changed. This can never happen again. Jeremy Swayman, I'm actually going to put zero blame on you just because how bad that second line was. If they're not playing defense in front of you, I can't expect you to do too much. So we're going to trade our first round pick here along with the 4th over to the Colorado Avalanche to get their first round pick for next season. As we know, once we get to the offseason, that pick's going to skyrocket in value, and then we're going to bring in an elite player to help the second line. Because what I just saw during the postseason here, that's never happening again. I just about lost my mind because I forgot to do one very crucial thing. We don't have Jeremy Swayman under contract. I thought we had him under contract. I was fully under the impression that Jeremy Swayman was under contract. Luckily, we're going to be able to keep him on this team. And on top of that, I think we're actually going to get him at a pretty fair price here. We're going to do $7 million per year for the next 7 years, a nice 7x7, as long as he accepts this contract offer. He's going to say no. Okay, I'm not messing around. I'm going to give you exactly what you want. We actually can't give him exactly what he wants. He wants 8.1. We have 7.7 to work with. Please accept this. I screwed this up big time. We're losing Jeremy Swayman. We just lost Jeremy Swayman. I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. Why did I think he was under contract? I was under the impression that he was under contract for next season. I guess not. That kind of explains why we had so much money to work with. But yeah, Jeremy Swayman, we're going to be losing you here. I mean, it's not guaranteed that we're losing you because I might be able to sign you in free agency. We'll figure out something. So Kemmel, I'm going to put a ton of pressure on you here. I've acquired you in a handful of videos, and every single time I've acquired you, you've been a massive disappointment. I'm hoping that's not the case today. Pavel Zacha and a second round pick's being sent over. We're getting Kemmel and a 3rd rounder. Unfortunately, we're not going to get the 3rd rounder, but we are going to get Kemmel. I don't really want to put too much more into this package. Honestly, I think we're actually getting a bit finessed here, but you know what? We just got to get this deal done. A 7th rounder is not going to be able to be the difference maker. Maybe a 5th rounder will be. I really don't want to throw too much more into this deal. I'll do a 5th and 7th rounder. I mean, if I have to throw in our 6th rounder as well, I will. But it doesn't look like we'll have to. We're doing a 7th rounder here. Now we're going to make a few more trades because we do have to free up cap space. So Jake DeBrusk, you don't really have a good line fit on this team anymore. And I can't see you playing on the 3rd line and producing great results here. So I'm going to send you over to the Carolina Hurricanes. We're going to bring in Kotkaniemi. He can fit on the bottom 6. That's exactly where we're going to play him. So DeBrusk in a 5th rounder is going to be sent over to Carolina. Unfortunately, they're going to be saying no here, but a 7th round will be the difference maker. So here's a 2028 7th round pick, and we're getting this deal done just like this. So Kuzmenko, you are a massive disappointment on this team. That's the main reason I'm trading you here. You're sent over to the New York Rangers. We're picking up 2 good bottom 6 pieces. The Rangers think they got an absolute steal. Kuzmenko was not good for us, plain and simple. Yeah, we probably could have got a 3rd round pick in that deal, but you know what? We got the 2 guys we wanted. So now that we've made the moves we have, we can bring Jeremy Swayman back, but we're going to have to pay a premium, $9 million for the next 7 years. He is one of the best goaltenders in the league, so I want to keep him here. Also, Connor Ingram is going to get $11.5 million. I just wanted to point that out. More than Jeremy Swayman. He has exact start potential. We have Jeremy Swayman with exact elite. So that is a move. Now I think we are going to make one signing during free agency here. Luke Kunin, I'll give you $1.8 million for next season. You're going to be a good 4th line guy for us. Other than that, we're basically going to be running it back with a majority of the same team. We did make some small changes, but those were for the better. So this season is going to be a massive risk. Although all the young guys are getting better here, Leo Carlsson 90 overall, Bedard at 95, Adam Fantilli, he's an 89. This second line is going to be a massive risk. Kemmel, Fantilli, Max Domi. We're either going to succeed here and they're going to have a positive plus minus, or things are going to look very bad for us. The bottom 6 is looking pretty strong. Definitely can't complain with what we have here. While the defense, it's still looking good. That 3rd pairing's a bit weak, but you know what? We can work with it. Brock Faber, he's got an X Factor, 88 overall. He's the guy for us. We already know this. And Jeremy Swayman, welcome back to the team. I'm very sorry I didn't pay you earlier on. That's on me, but you know what? You got your bag. Now it's time for you to perform. Then again, you performed last season. We just didn't show up in front of you. That second line, that just wasn't it. Also, now that we know that Kemmel has a pretty solid line fit here, I'm willing to give him an extension, and we're looking to do 8 years here. So how does 8 years at $2.9 million sound? You're going to turn into an elite potential player for us, so this is definitely going to be well worth it. Capo Caco, I would love to lock you down long term as well, but $4.8 million, that's just definitely not the move. Also, if we do 3 years, he wants $8.2 million. That's just definitely not happening. All right, so straight up, we need a new coach here. We're 15th in the entire league. And you know what makes 15th in the entire league worse? The fact that we have the third best offense in the NHL right now. Okay, it's fourth best offense. It's still a really good offense. So like 3.82 goals per game. The defense, I'm not going to talk about, hasn't been that great. But we got to bring in a new coach next season. Connor Bedard has 92 points at the trade deadline. 42 goals, 50 helpers. Leo Carlsson, 82 points. Fantilli, 62. The second line not performing once again here. This team should be way better than what their record is. On top of that, Jeremy Swayman, your numbers, we're not even going to talk about these. A 901 and a 316 should be better than this. No, like this is actually a joke. We're a 46 win team and we're not making the playoffs here. Looking at the entire league, we were actually a good team. The only reason we're not making the playoffs is our division was absolutely loaded. We should have made the playoffs. We should have been above Detroit, but the only reason we weren't is because this team lost every single game in overtime, so they were constantly picking up points. The offense 3.67, that's a pretty good offense. While the defense 3.09, that's also pretty good. 3.09 is definitely not a top defense, but it is like 12th in the entire league. While our offense, one of the best, it was 4th. The 4th best offense, 12th best defense, missed the playoffs. Whoever our coach is, that man's getting immediately fired because there's no reason that Bedard, who's picking up 104 points here, Leo Carlsson 97, Adam Fantilli 82, and we have negative plus minuses here. Connor Bedard has 104 points, -1. Leo Carlsson 91, -1. Fantilli 82 points, +3. How does that even happen? Meanwhile, Jeremy Swayman, you did basically everything you could. 35 wins, 5 shots, a 904, and a goals against of 3. But man, this team was something else. I believe the Minnesota Wild won the Stanley Cup. Yes, they did. We do own our first round pick, which is a good sign. So if that somehow jumps all the way to the number 1 overall pick, that'd be fantastic. But I believe we also have Colorado's first round pick. So hopefully that turns into the first overall. Doesn't look like that's going to be happening. We're getting the 17th overall pick here. We're going to make some moves. All right, so you already know what we do here. We flip first round picks. So the 17th overall is going to the Boston Bruins for next season's first round pick. We are going to make a ridiculous amount of trades, and that's going to involve trading all these first round picks we have, meaning 2 first round picks, for future first round picks. I don't care what it costs. We are going to get a lot of these deals done, and we're going to make some massive changes to this team. Colorado, I'll give you your 30th overall pick for this season if you give me your first round pick for next season. They're going to be saying no. I'll include a 6th round pick. That'll be enough to make the difference. Here we go. We got Colorado's first rounder for next season. We're trading ours. We're trading Colorado's, and we're trading Boston's. I think we got Boston's or Calgary's. All I know is we have a lot of first round picks to work with next season. We're bringing in a new coach. Things are changing with this team. So when it comes to the re-sign phase, 2 RFAs are being qualified. 2 rookies are being signed. Kunin, he's going to be the only guy walking. All right, so we just fired the coach, and now it's time to give Culp an extension here. I'm going to give him quite a bit of money. I'm willing to do 7.2 for the next 8 years. He's going to be a great defenseman for us. He's 21 years old. This is going to be a fantastic aging deal for us. Capo Caco, we're also going to bring you back here on a pretty cheap deal. We're going to do 2.65 for the next 3 years. You're going to play some bottom 6 minutes for us. Paterka, I think I'm going to re-sign you a bit later. So I was contemplating trading Max Domi last offseason, but we never did do it. But now he is going to get shipped out. We're sending him along with the first round pick from the Boston Bruins over to the Dallas Stars. We're getting Ivanov. He's an 86 overall playmaker at 20 years old. We're also going to get a 2nd round pick in this deal. I guess we're not getting the 2nd round pick, but we are going to be getting Ivanov. You're really not accepting this. Like, look at the trade value. I'm giving you way more than enough. I understand it doesn't fit the trade block whatsoever. Here's a 3rd round pick. That'll be enough to be the difference, I think. A 3rd and 4th round pick's going to be included in this. Like, we're giving you more than enough. Okay, what actually fits your trade block? Do I just have to go get assets that fit your trade block, then we can do this? I guess that's what we're going to do here. So ideally, the LA Kings have a very valuable defenseman. You happen to have a very valuable defenseman. So I'll do a trade like this, and then we'll ship this guy over to the Dallas Stars. However, before I do this deal, I do want a couple picks for next season. So give me a 3rd rounder for 2029. And you know what? Give me a 4th rounder for 2028 as well. So this package I'm sending over to the LA Kings that are going to say, no, I'll take that 4th rounder out. But this package is also going to get declined. Okay, you got to accept one of these. So here's a 3rd and 6th rounder added into the package, and this is finally going to be enough. Now it's time to circle back to the Dallas Stars. So I guess Dallas doesn't want a defenseman. For some reason, I thought they did. But you know what? It doesn't really matter because we're still going to get this deal done. So now it's time for Ivanov to get the big extension. We're doing 7.2 for the next 8 years. So after we give him this contract, Culp's getting his extension next season, then Capo Caco's getting his extension. we are going to have to make some trades to free up some cap space. So in order for us to have the money for all the extensions we've given out, we got to make some trades here. Forsling, I'm sending you over to the St. Louis Blues. Basically, we just need to dump the salary, plain and simple. We're still going to get a deal done with the Columbus Blue Jackets, though, as we're going to be picking up these two young players right here. One of them's an 86 overall, the other's an 84. Two young prospects that are already in their mid 80 overalls. I'll definitely take that for 2 first rounders. Probably could have got something else in the deal, but you know what? I just wanted to get the deal done. So we're just going to keep Kaapo Kakko around for 1 year. It's going to be at $2.75 million. We have an incredible forward core here. The defense is great. We should be a top team in the league with our new coach. No, like real talk, what happened last season was an absolute disappointment. The fact that we were that bad makes absolutely no sense. But you know what? We've made some changes. This team's definitely improved. Now it's time to play like the best in the league. Alright, I'm going to be completely honest. Anything less than 50 wins for this team right here would be an absolute disappointment. Leo Carlsson 92 overall, Bedard a 95, and Fantilli a 90 as well. So our core 3 is now all above a 90 overall. Ivanov, he's an 87. Dumas, I think he's going to be a big player for us. Kemmel's up to an 86, so that was actually a pretty good pickup. As long as we play defense, we're going to be one of the best teams in the entire league. The defense here is actually spectacular with the line boost we're getting. Everyone has a fantastic line fit. Culp and Brock Faber, they're going to be leading the way. And in between the pipes, we already know we got Jeremy Swayman. We have a young, mediumly potential goaltender in the wing. He's a 79 overall. This team's destined for success if we play up to our potential. If we don't, we're going to be a bottom 5 team. Before we head into next season, Peterka, here's 2.3 for the next 2 years. That's a pretty solid deal for a bottom pairing guy like you. Thankfully, this team's going to be playing a lot better this season. We're 6th in the entire league with a 38, 22, and 4 record. The offense is pretty solid, 3.7 goals per game, but the defense definitely needs some work. Look at the Buffalo Sabres. Almost 4 goals per game and only allowing 2.46. We got to improve the defense, and I think we got to bring in another elite defender. I mean, I guess what also doesn't help is Leo Carlsson 63 points, Connor Bedard 58. What happened to these top 2 guys? They both have negative plus minuses. This team, I don't even know. Like, the plus minus makes no sense to me. Yeah, we got some good guys here, but then we got some absolute scrubs. How is this happening? Like, real talk, why is this happening? That's back-to-back years now where we've been a massive disappointment. On paper, this is the best team in the entire league, but we have simply not played like it. So there's a couple options for defensemen. One of them is Zach Werenski, but his trade value is way too high, and I would have to give up way too much in order to get him. Pyong, I'm not really too sure what he really brings to the team here. He'll be a good two-way defender for us. Another option we can go with is a guy like Mikey Anderson, but the problem is when we pick up Mikey Anderson, he still has 4 years left on his contract, and I don't really want to keep him for the next 4 years. Severson, I don't like that contract either. So just based on what's available here, we might not be making any moves. Because I do think our forward core is strong enough to get us into the postseason and strong enough to win us a Stanley Cup. We're just going to rock with what we have here. We might change up the lines a little bit because the fact that our top line has a negative plus minus, that can't be happening. So the Atlanta Dragons are at least going to be finishing the season out strong here. 6th in the entire league with a 49, 25, and 8 record. A great offense, and the defense, we're actually just going to ignore this. I have no clue why the defense is as bad as it is. I mean, I kind of do, but I kind of don't. Leo Carlsson, much better after the trade deadline, 88 points. Connor Bedard, 50 goals, 30 assists for 80 points. That's fantastic. And Fantilli, 71 points. Seth Jarvis, 72 points, and he was on the 3rd line. So, I mean, he's still living up to his contract. Meanwhile, the goaltending numbers, Jeremy Swayman, 42 wins, 2 shots, a 908 and a 296. If you can step it up in the postseason, I fully believe that we can compete for a Stanley Cup because we're borderline a 50-win team. Then again, why am I doubting this team? Because when we were the 4th seed, we made it all the way to the Stanley Cup final. And now we're a 2 seed, so we're clearly a better team. I think that just means we're going to be taking home the Stanley Cup this season. We're taking on the Florida Panthers first. It's time for us to start our deep Stanley Cup run. Okay, we just scored 11 goals in game number 4. That's really all that has to be said here. We have all the momentum. We're closing this series out in 6 games. We're off to the 2nd round. That 11-4 game was the difference maker. I feel like we have all the momentum in the postseason right now. There's definitely a ton of teams scared of us right now. So we've moved on to the 2nd round, but now we have our toughest matchup so far, the Buffalo Sabres. If we lose in the 2nd round to Buffalo, I'm going to be completely honest, I would not be surprised in the slightest. If we somehow beat Buffalo, we're the Stanley Cup favorites. Now we're putting up a solid fight against the best team in the NHL. Game 5 is going to be a massive one. We're taking that one. Are we really going to take the Buffalo Sabres out here? We did. We just took out the best team in the NHL. They had the best offense and they had the best defense, but they weren't ready for the Atlanta Dragons. We're absolutely rolling right now, and we're going to keep on rolling into the conference finals. We have a 3-1 series lead, looking to close out in game number 5. That's exactly exactly what we're doing. The Stanley Cup final versus the Dallas Stars. Let's just keep on rolling here. The team's looking fantastic. A 3-1 series lead, and in game number 5, we're Stanley Cup champions. Just kidding. In game number 6, we're Stanley Cup champions. Thankfully, we didn't blow this 3-1 series lead. And what was the difference maker in the Stanley Cup final? The big-time players made big-time plays. Leo Carlsson, 36 points in 23 games. Connor Bedard, 34 points. Kemmel's picking up 27. Fantilli, 23. Ivanov, he's picking up 19 points. This entire team was fantastic, and so was the goaltending. Jeremy Swayman, 16 wins, a 923 and a 242. A majority of this team's going to be coming back for next season. I think there's a very good chance we complete a repeat here. Now, we really don't have too much money to work with here, but if we can get a deal like this done, that would be massive for us. Jordan Dumas, 4.7 for the next 5 years. You're going to be a big part to this team's future top 6. So we only had 3 picks in the upcoming draft, but we're still going to be getting some decent prospects, and I'm going to be selecting a lowly potential 132nd overall. So we aren't going to really be losing anyone in free agency here, but Kaapo Kakko and Borgren, both of these guys are going to be leaving the team. Alright, so Matt Japani, although you are a great bottom 6 piece for us, I can't pay you $3.5 million anymore. We just don't have the cap space for you. I'm going to trade you away, but now we're going to make a trade with Arizona to pick up one of their defensemen. And then this is the player we're picking up from the Arizona Coyotes, Janes. He's going to be a good defenseman for us, an offensive defenseman, and the best part is he fits on the third pairing, and that's actually where he's going to be playing. On top of that, he has X Factor, so I mean, it just keeps on getting better. So we don't have a ton of extensions to give out, but Palmieri, I will give you this one. It's under $1 million for the next 2 years. You're going to be backing up Jeremy Swayman. I feel like we're going to rock with Jeremy Swayman for these next 2 years, and then we might trade him away. I got nothing against Jeremy Swayman, but how old is he right now? He's 29. So in 2 years, he's going to be 31 years old. This guy's only going to be 24. I feel like we got to give it to the 24-year-old over the 31-year-old when it comes to the future of this team. So the future for this team is looking incredibly bright with Connor Bedard, Leo Carlsson, and Adam Fantilli leading the way. But we got other guys here like Kemmel, Dumas, Ivanov. They're looking absolutely fantastic. This man right here will not be here next season. He wants about $9 million. We cannot afford to pay somebody on the third line $9 million. But I just want to point this out. Man, an 88 overall, an 86 overall. And then we have this guy with medium elite potential at 22 years old. He's a 77 overall with a near perfect line fit. This team's definitely going to be winning a Stanley Cup this season. No questions about it. The defense is looking spectacular as well. James is going to be joining the team, 82 overall. He's got an X Factor, gain a +2 boost on every single pairing. And to top it all off, we have a fantastic goaltending tandem, 89 overall Jeremy Swayman, 84 overall Palmieri. We're looking at a 60-win season. Alright, so are we just going to be one of those teams that can't perform during the regular season? Because this ain't it. 12th in the entire league with a 33, 25, and 6 record. The offense is taking a massive step back, but the defense is the best in the entire league. Okay, second best in the entire league, but why is the offense so bad when we have Connor Bedard, Leo Carlsson, and Adam Fantilli? It should be a very good offense. Like, this simply is just not it. Leo Carlsson 61, Bedard 59, Fantilli 54. Like, this is just a massive disappointment. This team should certainly be better. But you know what? We're going to be fine. The goaltending numbers here are still looking pretty good. Jeremy Swayman, 29 wins, 3 shouts, a 910 to 272. I think all we have to do is bring in one elite forward that can score goals, and then we'll be fine. But who is that forward going to be? Potentially Kevin Fiala. Now that I'm looking at what's available here, it probably is going to be Kevin Fiala. As long as we can bring him on the team, of course. Alright, so I told y'all we're going to be acquiring Kevin Fiala here. A first and second round is being sent over. Can we pick him up at 50% retained? Because we basically need him at 50% retained here. It's going to be a first, a second, and a fourth rounder. All of this for Kevin Fiala. We got some more scoring on this team. Now we're ready to win. So this is what the lineup's going to be entering the playoffs here. You know what? The 77 overall isn't having necessarily a bad season, but it's not a good season. 22 points plus 11. He's going to be improving next season. I feel like this team's in a very good spot. Defensively, we're great here. Nothing to complain about. Let's go win a Stanley Cup. So I'm happy to say we finished the season out really strong here. 5th in the entire league with a 46, 29, and 7 record. The offense still wasn't that great, but the defense absolutely spectacular. Now when it comes to goal scoring, we are not going to discuss this. We're not even going to look at player stats. But all you have to know is Connor Bedard led the way with 74 points. Connor Bedard, 74 points. He was our top scorer. That is something. Also, I don't even know why I left that screen, because we got to see who we're going to be taking on the first round. It's going to be the Carolina Hurricanes. This team's offense has to pick up in the playoffs. We can't be only scoring 3.3 goals per game. It's got to be more than that. So I'm happy to say the team has definitely stepped it up here. We're scoring a lot more goals, and we're looking to close this series out in 5 games. Okay, we have to close out in game number 6 here. We're not going to game 7. I'm not blowing a 3-0 series lead. A 3-1 series is one thing, but losing after having a 3-0 series lead? that ain't it. So I'm happy to see Atlanta's picking up a lot of goals here. We're moving on to the second round to match up against the Buffalo Sabres for the second year in a row. Buffalo's not the team they used to be because last season they were just built different. But you know what? If we could beat them last season, then we can certainly beat them now. So Buffalo couldn't even match up against us. This was just a massive waste of time. We're in the conference finals. A quick sweep over them and a 7-1 victory to finish it off. That's something. So right now the boys are rolling all the way to the conference finals. We've won 5 straight games. The Washington Capitals are up next. The Buffalo Sabres, low-key, they were a better team than the Washington Capitals, so I don't think Washington's going to be able to beat us. We're going to get ready for the Stanley Cup Final with a quick warm-up series here, and then we'll have some tough matchups. The Vancouver Canucks or Colorado Avalanche, both of those teams are going to be elite. So no cap, I was very scared after those first 2 games, but now I'm scared again because we're facing elimination. But you know what? I know for a fact the Atlanta Dragons are going to show up here. We're off to Game 7. Should have known this was going to happen. So it's time to lock in here. Game 7, winners off to the Stanley Cup Final. We're going to be picking up 2 goals here. We're picking up another 2 goals in the second period. We have a 2-goal lead entering the third, and we should be locking this one down. I said we should be locking this one down, right? That just happened. Okay. We lost because Adrian Kempe scored the winner. We allowed 4 unanswered goals. We should have had this locked down, but we just didn't score when it mattered most. We lost this game 6-5. This just hurts. Nah, that was a tough way to go out. But you know what? I'm confident in the Atlanta Dragons. We have a lot of young guys on this team. They're going to be even better. And that 88 overall that was on our third line, we're trading him away because we don't have enough money to pay him. But we're going to get a lot of good assets for him. So thankfully, we're not going to really be losing too much this season. And ideally, all the young guys keep on getting better. Also, shout out to Vancouver for finally winning a Stanley Cup and not choking for once. So plain and simple, we just didn't show up in Game 7. I mean, we did show up, but then we just allowed 4 unanswered goals. The offense on this team was looking absolutely fantastic. And the goaltending, that was great as well. Jeremy Swayman, I'm sorry we didn't win a Stanley Cup with these numbers. We let you down. So before we even get to the draft, we got to give Ackerland an extension, and we're looking at 3.2 for the next 8 years. He's got medium elite potential. He's going to keep on developing. I think he'll turn into probably like an 84, 85 overall guy, and then at that price tag, it's definitely worth it. On top of that, I also want to keep Mathers here long term, 2.6 for the next 8 years. Kotkaniemi, we're also trading you away just because I want to free up that money. Now, I'm not going to lie, I was really contemplating trading this pick away, but thankfully I didn't because we're going to be getting a medium elite 2-way forward. Now, I was really about to trade this pick away for like a top 6 potential player. All right, so I was checking what's available for these final 2 picks, and there's absolutely nothing good. So we're going to acquire a 3rd round pick from the Arizona Coyotes. It happens to be the Devils pick. That doesn't really matter. But yeah, we got a 3rd round pick for basically nothing. So when it comes to the re-sign phase here, we are going to qualify this RFA and we're trading him away. And then the other 2 guys we're just letting walk. All right, so hypothetically, if we can get Michael Misa here, he's an 87 overall, but look at that contract. 6 more years at $4.6 million. That's basically what Kotkaniemi was getting paid, but Michael Misa is way better. So a 2nd rounder in this guy right here, unfortunately, they're going to be saying no to that. I mean, I'm willing to include quite a bit in this deal. Here's 2 3rd round picks. All of this from Michael Misa. You know what? If we're going to do a deal like this, we got to make sure that we fit their trade block perfectly. So it's pretty clear the one thing they really want right now, young players and defensive prospects. So that's what we're going to go get. So this is going to be the easiest deal we can do. Shishkinov, we're picking him up from the New York Rangers as we're going to be sending this guy we qualified as an RFA. Now that we've made that trade, it's time to pick up Michael Misa. So I think we're actually very close here. Shishkinov, 3 3rd rounders and a 2nd rounder over to the Montreal Canadiens for Michael Misa. We're almost there. We're so incredibly close. We got to turn one of these 3rd rounders into a 2nd, and we're getting Michael Misa. And I think this is exactly how we're doing it. Kotkaniemi over to the Anaheim Ducks, and we're picking up a 2nd round pick. Now that we've completed that deal, we can officially pick up Michael Misa. I'm not going to lie, the way we've been able to flip prospects, it makes no sense that we're going to be able to pick up a guy like Michael Misa. And honestly, I don't think it's actually going to take 3 3rd round picks. I think it's just going to take this right here. I'm going to send that over. They're saying no. Okay, maybe it is going to take all the 3rd round picks. I'll give you this 3rd rounder for 2031 first, and then if this doesn't get it done, we'll add the 2nd rounder, but we don't have to worry about that. Michael Misa, welcome to the team. So the plan is just to bring back the exact same team. We're picking up a defenseman from the Washington Capitals here, Nielsen. 2 years left on his contract, and he's still on his rookie deal. It's not going to take too much more. Here's a 5th rounder as well. Actually, why am I trading a 5th rounder? We can definitely get him for a 7th rounder. So here's a 7th rounder for the year 2031, and now the deal's getting accepted. I was really about to throw a 5th rounder in. That's just bad moves right there. All right, so we're definitely winning a Stanley Cup this season. The forward core here is absolutely incredible. Michael Misa, the fact that you're going to be playing on our 3rd line says a lot about this team. It just shows you how good we are. Defensively, we're in a better spot this season. The line fits are actually better. Nielsen, I don't know what it is about having you on the second pairing, but it's just an incredible line fit here. We're going to be set for the future. And then wait until you see our goaltending. I was not prepared for this. 89 overall Jeremy Swayman, 89 overall Palmieri. I don't know which one of these guys is going to be starting for us in the postseason, but all I know is Palmieri is the future goaltender for this team. We're going to rock both of these guys this season, and then Jeremy Swayman will trade you in the offseason. 289 overall goaltenders is absolutely unreal. Just for a bit of context, there's 8 goaltenders in the NHL right now, 89 overall and above. 82 overall Sorokin, 90 overall Wallstead, Shesterkin and Ottinger, they're both at a 90 as well. Same with Demko, and then the 89 overall Spencer Knight, Palmieri, Swayman. So of the 8 top goaltenders in the league, 2 of them are on our team. Yeah, so I think it's safe to say we're all right. Now, right off the rip, I'm very surprised we're third in the entire league with a 43-17-4 record. But the most interesting point about this team, our offense 3.48 is probably like the middle of the pack, probably upper middle. But this defense right here, 2.69 goals allowed per game. No, that's just different. We have the best defense in the entire league. Still a pretty good offense. This team's set up for success. There's no question about it. However, in saying all of that, I do want the big time players to start making some big time plays here. Connor Bedard, a point a game. I need more than a point a game from you. I'm just going to be completely honest. You're sitting at exactly a point a game right now. Leo Carlsson, 59 points. Fantilli, 57. Ivanov's leading the way. He's got 67. But I just have more faith in this team. We should be doing better than this. While the goaltending, I already know that's going to be spectacular. It looks like Jeremy Swayman's still the number one guy here. But then again, Palmieri, a 21-7-1 record. 3 shots, a 921 and a 244. I think he's got to be our guy going into the postseason because these numbers are incredible. But until then, let's look at what's available here at the trade deadline. Ideally, we pick up a defenseman here, but I'm not really too sure if that's going to be happening. Based on what's available right now, I don't think we're going to be getting any good defensemen. Eric Chernak would basically be our best option. Maybe bring in Devon Taves, but both these guys have multiple years left on their contracts. I don't really want to do that. I kind of want to bring somebody in on a 1-year deal, but I don't think we're going to have that option. Carlo, that could be the move, but you know what? I think we're pretty good where we sit right now. The offense is pretty solid. The defense is spectacular. Let's just rock with the team we have. So Atlanta's finishing out the season strong here, second in the entire league with a 53-22-7 record. The goal scoring still looking great on this team, but the defense is absolutely spectacular. 2.7, that's the best in the entire league. Now, I love the fact that our defense is so good, but Connor Bedard, 83 points here. I need more from you. Leo Carlsson, 79 points. I need more from you as well. Fantilli, 67 points. I don't know why, but the top guys in this team just have to be doing better. Granted, we do have some amazing depth scoring. Look at all these guys over 50 points here. And then the goaltending numbers. Palmieri's taking over in between the pipes. 27 wins, 9 losses, 3 OT, 4 shots, a 916, a 260. I mean, I don't really care which goaltender we go with, but Palmieri, I'm pretty sure he's the guy from here on out. But maybe Jeremy Swayman should get the start here. We're taking on the Boston Bruins. I'm actually allowing the CPU to decide who's going to be our starting goaltender because I don't think it really matters. They're both 89 overalls. They're both playing fantastic right now. We're basically in a win-win position when it comes to goaltending. So we started off game number 1 with a shutout, and we haven't looked back since. We got ourselves a 3-1 series lead, and in game 5, we're going to dominate 6-2, and we're off to the second round. I feel like the NHL should just give us the Stanley Cup at this point. There's no team going to be stopping us. I mean, to be fair, Arizona did finish above us in the standings, but you know what? Arizona can't compete with us. Let's be completely honest. We're a different breed right now. I'm running my mouth right now, only for us to lose in the second round. I'm calling it right now. All right, I take it back. We're straight. We have a 3-1 series lead, and we're closing out in game number 5 here. A 6-2 victory once again in an elimination game. We're off to the conference finals for the second year in a row. I think we made the conference finals last season. We might have won a Stanley Cup last season. I actually don't recall. It's the following day. I don't really remember what happened last season. I should probably double check though. All right, so I just went and looked at what happened last season. Yeah, we had that collapse against the Washington Capitals. Completely forgot about that. So we made it to the conference finals. Somehow a wild card team in the Carolina Hurricanes has made it here as well. But we can't sleep on the Hurricanes. If they've made it to the conference finals, then they're going to be a good team. But no matter which team we take on from the Western Conference, it's going to be a tough matchup. Vancouver and Arizona, 2 top teams. We're looking at a fantastic finish here. Yeah, so that is something. This is something right here. Okay, if we make a 3-0 series comeback, I would not be against that. But nope, we're going to be out in the conference finals here, losing in overtime. This right here should not have happened. We should not have been down 3-0 to start this series. 2 back-to-back wins here. We were trying to get back into this one, but we just dug ourselves into a hole and we couldn't bounce back. So Arizona is going to win the Stanley Cup here. The number 1 team in the entire league actually closes it out for once. We should have been in the Stanley Cup final. We shouldn't have choked to the Carolina Hurricanes. But I mean, Carolina made it to the conference finals, so they clearly weren't no joke. But man, those first 3 games, we dug ourselves into a hole. If we won one of those, we're probably winning a Stanley Cup. But nope, We lost 3 straight to start the series, and we had too big of a mountain to climb. The offense was spectacular. Can't complain about that whatsoever. Was the goaltending good? Yes, it was. Palmieri, 10 wins, 2 shouts, a 924 and a 254. He's an 89 overall. He's got a couple more X factors. Jeremy Swayman, it's time for us to trade you, I'm sorry to say. We just can't be paying both of you guys. It's going to be way too much money. Okay, JJ Peterka, we're probably going to do a sign and trade with you because you're up to an 87 overall. So I'm going to sign you 2 years at $4 million. I have no clue why you would accept this, but I think you're going to be. We'll trade you away. We'll get a bunch of young assets. But then again, keeping you on this team might be the move. All right, so I think this would be a very interesting trade for us. With the Columbus Blue Jackets, Wheeler was just selected 2nd overall. At 17 years old, he's a 65 overall, but he has high top 6 potential. So we can basically guarantee he's going to become a top 6 potential player. I feel like this trade would definitely be worth it here. The 31st overall for Wheeler. I'm going to offer that over. They're saying yes immediately. We just got the 2nd overall pick for the 31st overall. That is a very interesting move. That's also not going to be the only great player we get in the draft here, because we're also going to be securing one with low elite potential, 163rd overall. Late in the draft here, there isn't really any good prospects available, so the 196th overall and the 229th being sent over to the Boston Bruins, and we're picking up a future 3rd rounder. So when it comes to the re-sign phase, we're going to be qualifying these 2 RFAs right here. These other 3 players we're going to be letting walk though. So Jeremy Swayman, I want to thank you for all the time you spent here. You've been a fantastic goaltender for us, but we have a new one for the future. That's going to be Palmieri. So I'm going to send you over to the Montreal Canadiens here. We're getting Hurd. He's going to play some good defensive minutes for us this season. Petrov, he's a developing young prospect. We'll see what he turns into. And we're also going to be getting a 3rd round pick in this deal. They're going to be saying no right now, but we just have to include a 7th rounder. So after I include this 7th rounder right here, we're going to be getting the deal done. Montreal, thank you for accepting this. We free up $9 million in this deal. We got to re-sign our goaltender, but we're not going to be doing that re-signing right now because bro wants a bag. And when I say a bag, I mean like $15 million. I'm not willing to do that right now. Maybe on January 1st, when he wants to do a long-term deal for $10 million, we can get something done. And then immediately after picking up Hurd here, we're giving him an extension because I have no clue why he would accept a deal like this, but it's going to be massive for us. 2.8 for the next 8 years. This contract's going to age very well for us. He's already got an X factor at 21 years old. He's going to be a big piece to this team's future. Just for a little context, Nielsen, who's an 82 overall at 22 years old, if we give him an extension, he wants $6 million. So I would say this contract's going to be very good for us. Now, we are going to do one signing during free agency here. Mika Zibanejad will give you $4 million for next season. You might be 37 years old, but you still are an 85 overall, and I think you could be pretty productive on our 4th line. And then I'll sign Adam Beckman to a 2x2, so that'll actually be 2 free agent signings. Now, I actually didn't really plan on doing this, but Buckinger, you've been a good defenseman for us, so here's 2.9 for the next 3 years. That's going to be a decent contract for us. You're an 81 overall. I don't expect you to do too much, but you know what? You can hold it down the 3rd pairing, so why not bring you back for a couple more years? So I lied about it being 1 free agent signing. It's actually going to be 3 here, and we're going to finish it off with a backup goaltender. Now, I don't think we've been appreciating how good this team is right here. Look at all the X factors throughout the entire lineup. Our 3rd line here's lowest overall is an 85. 85 Jarvis, 86 overall Michael Misa, 87 overall Peterka. The top 6 is absolutely phenomenal. No weaknesses here whatsoever. And you know what? The 4th line, it's pretty solid. An 81 overall, an 82, and another 82. Zibanejad was supposed to be playing on the 4th line here, but apparently, according to scouting, he fits on the 4th line. In reality, he does not fit on the 4th line whatsoever, so he's just going to be a healthy scratch for this team. The defense, we already know these guys can hold it down. Culp, I would like to see you develop some X factors here. Maybe jump up to an 86 overall or something. Hurd, you're going to be playing some 2nd pairing minutes alongside Carrier. You're getting a +4 overall boost. This team's going to be in a really good spot. Meanwhile, Palmieri, 90 overall. What else do I need to say? This is the guy for the future. He's going to be one of the best goaltenders in the entire league, if not the best. We're set for the future, plain and simple. And the best part about this team right here, everyone's locked down long term. All the main pieces are locked down long term. And even a guy like JJ Peterka, he might not be locked down long term, but we do have him for the next 2 years at $4 million. We're just going to ride out that contract. It's too good to pass up on. So Palmieri, I'm happy to say that you've smartened up a bit when it comes to the extension. So we're going to be locking you down long term here. We're going to do 8.8 for the next 8 years. You're already a 90 overall at 24 years old. I want to make sure you're on this team for the long run. All right, so at face value, it might not look like the Atlanta Dragons are playing very well, but you have to consider we had the worst start imaginable to this season. We started the season 8-12. Here we are with a 36-21-8 record. The offense is looking pretty solid here, 3.54, and the defense 3.3. After the first 20 games of this season, we've been playing way better offensively and way better defensively, so I'm not too scared by these numbers. Leo Carlsson's definitely been stepping it up here, 70 points. Bedard, he's also stepped up as well, 67 points here at the trade deadline. He's also got 40 goals. Dumas, 58 points. Ivanov, 55. Fantilli, 55. We're looking pretty solid offensively. Defensively, though, We're going to pretend these numbers don't exist. Palmieri, this just ain't it right here. But you know what? I saw the numbers you put up last season. I saw what you did in the playoffs. I know we can rely on you. Now, with all that being said, it probably wouldn't hurt here if we made a trade. I need a defenseman on a 1-year deal. Jacob Chychrun, I wouldn't mind bringing you onto the team, but you know what? You got 5 years left on your deal. Any good defenseman on 1-year deals, we got to find somebody. Now, after taking a look at what's available here, it's pretty clear on who we're going to be acquiring. Erik Cernak, welcome to the team. A 2nd rounder and 2 third-round picks. Unfortunately, they're going to be saying no to that, but I'll throw a 6th rounder in the deal, and that's going to be enough to get this done. He's going to be a massive upgrade to our defense. A good defensive defenseman, that's going to be the difference for us. So Atlanta wasn't too bad to finish off the season here. 8th in the entire league with a 46-27-9 record, but I fully believe we're a better team than what our record shows. The offense not too bad, but the defense 3.23, I can live with that. Honestly, the differential here is not that great, so we were kind of a mid team. I low-key just don't really understand this team sometimes, because with the amount of talent we have here, we should not be having guys like Kemmel finishing with a plus-minus of 0. You were on the first line with Connor Bedard and Leo Carlsson, and you have a plus-minus of 0. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Palmieri, 35 wins, 1 shutout, and I actually don't know what your other numbers were. Yeah, I just completely missed those. You know what? I'm not going to read them out loud. We're playing the Buffalo Sabres in the first round. That's the only thing that needs to be known. So I don't care what this team does during the regular season, because I know for a fact we're always going to step it up in the playoffs. And that's exactly what's happening right now. We're off to the 2nd round just like that. A quick 5-game series to warm up. Things are looking pretty solid. So after that nice little warm-up matchup against the Buffalo Sabres, we moved on to the 2nd round here. Now we got the Montreal Canadiens. Now this is going to be an interesting matchup. Jeremy Swayman versus Palmieri. Our 2 goaltenders for last season matching up against each other. If we lose to Montreal, I'm going to be tight. Nah, low-key, this is basically like a Stanley Cup matchup right now. Montreal versus Atlanta. 2 great teams going against each other, but we can't lose to Jeremy Swayman. We're going down bad right now. Not a 5-game series. Okay, we got a forced game 7 here with a winning game 6. We're making a 3-1 series comeback. There's the potential for this. So here we go, game 7. Are we going to be able to beat Jeremy Swayman here? We're picking up a ton of goals early on. We had a 4-0 lead at one point. Are we going to be choking it away? It doesn't look like it. We're going to be picking up 6 in this one, and we're off to the conference finals. Completing a 3-1 series comeback against Jeremy Swayman. And Bedard, he had a heck of a game, picking up the trick. That's exactly what we needed. So we've made it back to the conference finals for the 3rd year in a row here. The past 2 years, though, it's been disappointing. We've lost both times, but that's not happening this time. We're getting past the Devils. I'm tired of this team falling apart in the conference finals. It can't happen again here. So it's been a close series so far. We're going back and forth, but game 5 is going to be a massive one here. We can't be doing this. We can't be losing in the conference finals once again. I am so sick and tired of this happening. The Atlanta Dragons, 3 years in a row we made to the conference finals, and we've lost each and every time. We are such a good team, but when push comes to shove, we always find a way to lose. So the New Jersey Devils are going to go on to win the Stanley Cup final here, and I'm absolutely sick to my stomach. 3 straight years in the conference finals, this team is just completely falling apart. And you know what's going to make it worse? When I look at Palmieri's numbers and I see he played pretty good. Kemmel, -7. I don't know what you were doing out there. I'm going to be completely honest. Palmieri, these numbers aren't the greatest in the world, but you know what? They're not that bad. A 903 and a 288. I've seen worse numbers from goaltenders. I've seen goaltenders post like 440s in the playoffs. So 288. It's not the end of the world, but I would like better. Okay, so we're going to make a deal here with the Detroit Red Wings. I really want to get the 69th overall pick, because this is going to be a very good prospect in this draft that I want to draft. But then this guy right here, I also wouldn't mind acquiring. 21 years old. He's already an 84 overall. The 30th and 88th overall is definitely not going to be enough here. We do have a 5th rounder I can throw into this deal, but I still don't believe that's going to be enough. But I think we're actually very close here now that I've thrown that 5th rounder in. So what if I give you a 6th round pick as well? All of this for that 3rd rounder and that prospect right there. Probably shouldn't call him a prospect, because he's not really a prospect. I'm throwing a lot of draft picks in this deal, but you know what? If we can get this deal done, it's going to be massive for us. All right, not only did we get a great top 6 potential player, but wait till you see who we're about to draft. Because with the 69th overall pick, we're drafting Ferguson, medium elite potential. So that trade we just made definitely worked out for us. A medium elite potential player and a top 6 potential player who at 21 years old is already an 84 overall. We're making big moves, and we're making smart moves. Now, not too much is going to be happening here during the re-sign phase, qualifying a couple RFAs. Other than that, we're not really going to be doing anything. Also, I don't really know why I qualified this guy. Yes, I do, because he does want a 2-way contract. We're going to be trading him away. But these three guys here, we're going to be letting all of them walk. And then this fringe starter potential goaltender, we're going to let him walk as well. All right, so Janes is going to be rejoining the team here because we already know he wants a massive bag. However, there is this defenseman who has 3 years left on his contract, high top 4 potential, and he's an 83 overall. He can immediately jump into the lineup for us, so we're getting this deal done. So we're only going to be making one free agent signing here, and I'm not capping about that. We're actually only going to be making one, and it's going to Lindstrom. We're going to do 2 years at 1.3 million. I know he's a 79 overall, but you know what? If we can get a +2 boost on the third pairing, and that can move him up to an 81 overall, then this deal is definitely worth it. Even if he is only a 79 overall with a 0 overall boost, then I think we're still in a good spot for what we're going to be paying him. So not too much is going to be changing when it comes to the forward core, but Jordan is going to be playing on the first line this year as they're getting a +5 boost. Kemmel's down to the second line. They're going to be getting a +3 here. The bottom 6 is absolutely incredible. Byron, that was a fantastic pickup for us. He's an 84 overall. Michael Misa, he might have dropped to an 84 overall and lost a couple X factors, but you know what? He's a great fit here on the third line. And you know what? We're actually going to change things up a little bit. I want Seth Jarvis up here on the third line just because he has a perfect line fit. And I think that's going to be better for the team. Meanwhile, the fourth line, can't complain about what we have here. Defensively, we're in a pretty good spot. Lindstrom, I'm going to have you playing on the second pairing. You could play on the third pairing, but then we're not getting an overall boost, so I'd rather have you getting that overall boost. And the goaltending, we already know what we got. Palmieri, although he has dropped to an 88 overall, I know he's going to be a fantastic goaltender for us in the postseason. I've seen him do it once before. That means he can do it again. Nah, low-key, this is actually really annoying. A 54-win season is not good enough for first in the entire league. Colorado was built different, though. Look how many goals they were scoring, 4.34 per game. We were 3.8, though. That's still pretty solid. And our defense better than Colorado, so I think that could be the difference maker. But then again, look at the New Jersey Devils. They were great offensively and the best defensively. So that's a team we're definitely going to have to watch out for. Also, I was going to make some trades at the trade deadline, but I wasn't paying attention and I accidentally simulated past it. So yeah, we're going to be rocking with this team right here. And honestly, I can't complain about it. We're looking like a really solid team. The first line's looking great. The second line's looking fantastic as well. And the goaltending, kind of mid. Not going to lie. Palmieri, 44 wins, 5 shots, an 899 and a 309. That's just not it. Yeah, plain and simple. You were not that guy this season. But what am I talking about? We finished second in the entire league. We were a 54-win team. This team's looking good, and now we're in the postseason. We have the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round. Nobody loses in the first round to the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're ready to make some moves. I've really been ripping on the Toronto Maple Leafs basically this entire year. If this team somehow makes it all the way to the conference finals, I'm going to have a lot of bad takes. All right, Toronto, what are you doing here? Why are you putting up a fight against us? Toronto, why do you have a 3-2 series lead right now? We're not losing in the first round to these guys. We're winning 6-0 in game 6 and we're off to game 7. I am very concerned. Okay, we're in the second period right now. I just want to point this out. We have an 8-4 lead. To begin this game, Toronto scored the first 3 goals of the game. We proceeded to score 8 unanswered. That is tough. We're winning this game 10-6. That is a bad look for Toronto fans. I'm not even going to lie. Who led the way for us? Michael Misa, he's picking up 3 points. Kemmel, 3. Ivanov, 3. Is there anyone on this team that didn't record a point? We had 3 guys not recording points. Somehow, one of them is Brock Faber, who played 26 minutes. Bro, what were you doing on the ice? So after winning in game 7 like that, we have all the momentum in the playoffs right now. There's not a team better than us. We've moved on to the second round. The Detroit Red Wings we're going to be taking on next. If we match up against the New Jersey Devils in the conference finals and lose again, I legitimately might break a controller. We can't have 4 straight conference finals losses. So Detroit didn't really put up much of a fight against us. We dominated this series from the very beginning. We did drop game 2 though, but that just means we're going to close it out in 5 games. So I was a bit nervous about losing to the New Jersey Devils in the conference finals, but I didn't really pay attention and realize that the Washington Capitals were the other option, another team we've lost to during the conference finals. We have made 4 straight conference finals appearances. No choking here. We got to show up. Like, no cap. This is when the great teams show up. We can't be losing a series like this. We have a 3-1 series lead. We should be winning this in game 5. We're off to the Stanley Cup final. For once, we didn't choke. So here we go, the Stanley Cup final. 2 of the top teams facing off against each other. The LA Kings taking on the Atlanta Dragons. We've made it to the conference finals 4 years in a row, and we finally made it back to the Stanley Cup final. This is some of the best hockey we've ever played. And now it's time for us to take home another Stanley Cup. So here we go, the Stanley Cup final. We're taking on the LA Kings. We got to show up big time. So far, we split the series, so game 5 is going to be a massive one. We're winning that one 6-1, and ideally, we close it out here in game number 6. Nope. Game 7, Stanley Cup final. It all comes down to this. So we have a ton of big time players, and now it's time for us to make some big time plays. We're picking up the first goal of the game. Michael Misa is going to be doing that. Romanov's going to be picking up one in the second. It all comes down to the third period. Who's going to be showing up here? We lost. We really lost this game. That is tough. 3 unanswered. Make that 4 unanswered. You're telling me the offense didn't show up? No, that's tough. I mean, the defense also didn't show up. Nothing showed up in this game. Michael Misa, thankfully you picked up 1 point. But I also believe that goaltender we just lost, he's like an 82 overall. I was going to sign him as our backup. He won a Stanley Cup. That is something. Connor Bedard, what is this? -7. You were -7 in the playoffs? Nah, this team just did not show up to play. The goaltending numbers, fantastic. Palmieri, I'm so sorry we let you down. 14 wins, 3 shouts, a 927 and a 232. An absolute disgrace we didn't win a Stanley Cup with those numbers. So for the 4th year in a row, this team's going to find a way to lose in the most important games. Alright, so we're not going to be making any draft picks here, but the 32nd overall, along with the 65th being sent over to the Buffalo Sabres, we're picking up a 1st and 3rd rounder. Ideally, we get the 3rd rounder. It doesn't look like we'll be able to, but what if I throw a 7th round pick in the deal? I think that'll be enough to get that 3rd rounder as well. This is a good package for us because I know for a fact that 1st round pick is going to skyrocket in value. We're going to trade it away and then we're going to rebuild the bottom 6 a little bit. We don't have to do too much to change it, but we are going to be losing a couple guys. So when it comes to the re-sign phase, JJ Peterka, unfortunately, you're going to be leaving the team here. Beckman, you're also going to be leaving the team. I mean, I'm not against keeping JJ Peterka here, but I'm just not sure if he's worth 4.4 million anymore. I mean, yes, he is, but if he's playing 4th line minutes, we can find a cheaper replacement. Now, this is going to be a tough off season for us in the sense that we do have a handful of guys we have to give extensions to, but we're definitely not going to have money for everyone. Brock Faber, you're one guy we definitely have to bring back. There's no doubt about it. So here's the deal we're looking at. It's going to be 9.6 for the next 8 years. After making this deal right here, we're going to have another 11 million to work with. Now, how are we going to spread out the $11 million? Jordan, I'm not really too sure if I want to give you 9.5 million. I'm just going to be completely honest. Byron, what are you looking for? 3.2, we can definitely work with that. I'll do an 8-year deal with you. So how does 8 years at 3.7 million sound? I think you have the potential to be a very good player, so I think this contract's going to age very nicely for us. So I will say there is one funny thing about this trade. I can't pronounce names to save my life, but I can say Samoskevich. No clue why I can say that name, and I can comprehend that one. But when it comes to the 900 other names in this game, I just screw them up 90% of the time. Then again, there is a very good chance that I didn't say Mackie Samoskevich's name right. So when it comes to free agency, we're not doing anything crazy, but we are signing some players to 1-year deals. Luosterainen, here's 6.5 for next season. And then Ty Cartier will also give you 1 year. We'll do 4.3. Outside that, we're going to be rocking the exact same team. Also, that 1st round pick we got from the Buffalo Sabres still has a ton of trade value, but you know what? I don't think I'm going to trade it this season because we don't really need to trade it for anything. Best case scenario, it ends up being the 1st overall pick, but if it doesn't, we'll trade that Buffalo pick to some other team for their future 1st round pick, and then we'll have a bunch of 1st round picks for the future. So after winning a Stanley Cup, who would have thought the team would be even better here? Ivanov, he's finally got a superstar X factor. We got a big 4 here. We started this video as a big 3 between Karlsson, Bedard, Fantilli, but now you got to add Ivanov there. This forward core is incredible. The top 6, yeah, they're going to be scoring about 18 goals per game. Although we do know that's not the case, it's not going to happen. But you know what? Hey, we can always dream. The defensive core here is still pretty strong. A +2 boost on the 3rd pairing, a +2 on the 2nd, and then a +3 boost on the top pairing. Meanwhile, the goaltending, Palmieri, we saw what you did in the postseason last year. It's time for you to do it again. Only 26 years old, medium elite potential still. You might even develop a superstar X factor. That would be the best case scenario. But even if you don't, you're still one of the top goaltenders in the league. Now, there's a very good chance that we don't make any trades here, but there is one thing we have to do real quick. Jordan, now that we got rid of Seth Jarvis and we freed up $7 million, we are going to be able to bring you back here. So where are you looking at when it comes to a contract extension? I think we can work something out. So how about we do something like this? We're going to do 9.5 for the next 5 years. That's going to keep you on the team till you're 33. And then at that point, we'll trade you away for a younger player and then slowly rebuild this team a little bit. We're not going to have to do much of a rebuild, but I mean, we are going to be getting older. Like Bedard's 27 right now, Leo Carlsson 27, Fantilli 27. It's only a matter of time before these guys start declining. But then again, what am I talking about? We still have 6 more solid years. I also gave Samoskevich a deal. We're doing $3 million for the next 2 years. For a bottom 6 guy, that's a pretty solid contract. Also, for some reason, I guess we didn't trade Nielsen away earlier, so now I'm sending him over to the Buffalo Sabres for a 3rd and 4th round pick. Is this deal going to go through? All right, there we go. We got the deal done this time. I don't know why it didn't go through last time. Alright, so this is by far the best season we've ever had, but the real question is, are we going to be finishing first in the entire league here? It's finally happening. Atlanta's at the top of 56, 19, and 7 record. The offense is absolutely flying, and the defense, that's pretty solid as well. And if the offense is flying, who's going to be leading the way? Connor Bedard. He's finally performing as he should. 61 goals, 45 helpers, 106 points. Leo Carlson 100. Jordan's picking up 88. Ivanov 76 points. Fantilli 71. This team's looking incredible right now, and I don't think they're going to be slowing down. And to cap it all off, Tony Palmieri, 46 wins, 1 shutout, a 908 and a 269. These are looking like Stanley Cup numbers right here. And to start off this Stanley Cup run, we're going to see a familiar foe in the first round, the Washington Capitals. Washington's not the team they used to be. We're not the team we used to be because we're a lot better. This should be a quick series. So this team's really lighting the lamp right now. 6 goals in game number 1, 5 goals in game number 3, 8 goals in game number 4. We got a 3-1 series lead. We're going to score 10 goals here in game 5. Okay, maybe not 10 goals, it's actually 3 goals. But you know what? A win is a win is a win is a win, and we're off to the second round. So after that nice warm-up against the Washington Capitals, we moved on to the second round here. This is going to be a true test for this team. They're one of the best in the entire league, but if we can get past Buffalo, then we should cruise to a Stanley Cup. So we might have dropped the first 2 games. That doesn't scare me whatsoever because we're going to be winning the next 2. Ideally, we win 3 straight here, and that's going to include a game 5 win, and now we have a 3-2 series lead. Close out in game number 6. Unfortunately, that's not going to be happening. We're off to game 7. We got 2 of the best matching up today, the Buffalo Sabres and the Atlanta Dragons. Buffalo's going to be picking up the first goal of the game. In the second, though, it's going to be a scoreless one. We've got to get the offense flying here, and that's what's going to happen in the third period. I'm going to go ahead, simulate the third period, and it looks like we're going to be picking up the offense. Connor Bedard's actually picking up the offense. We've tied this game up. We're off to overtime, and Connor Bedard, are you picking up the hat trick? Of course you are. 3 goals from Connor Bedard, 3 goals in this game from us, and now we're off to the conference finals. Bedard's really that guy. No, real talk. When the game is on the line, Connor Bedard's going to show up. He's got us to the conference finals. This is going to be our 5th straight year in the conference finals. However, we've only made it to 1 Stanley Cup final. But you've never seen an Atlanta team like this before. The Islanders are going to be a tough task for us. But if we get past the Islanders, then neither of those 4 seeds are going to be beating us. The LA Kings or Minnesota Wild, yeah, we're not falling to either of them. Nah, ain't no way we just picked up 9 goals against the New York Islanders. Close this out in game number 5. Never mind, we're going to close this thing out in game number 6. And we're off to the Stanley Cup final for the 2nd year in a row. So here we go, back in the Stanley Cup final, taking on the LA Kings, the Atlanta Dragons, the best team in the entire league, and the LA Kings. I think we know where I'm going with this. Let's make it a quick sweep. LA can't even compete with us. Just for a bit of context heading into this matchup, LA won 43 games during the regular season, we won 56. But then again, the playoffs are a completely different animal, and if they've made it all the way to the Stanley Cup final, then they're going to be locked in. We're simulating the first 4 games here. Oh god, things are not looking good. I just saw we lost game number 1, we lost game number 4. So far the series is all tied up. We got to win game 5. Game 5 is going to be a deciding game in this series, but of course we're taking that home. 9 goals in that one, and in game number 6 we're taking this one. Alright, that's going to be back-to-back years now. Stanley Cup final, Game 7. We won in Game 7 last year. We're going to win in Game 7 again. So here we go, Atlanta. It's time to win back-to-back Stanley Cups here. Things are not looking good in the first period, but you know we're going to bounce back in the second. Never mind, no we aren't. Third period, we're down 3 goals. It's time for Connor Bedard to dominate. He didn't score a single goal in this game. Okay, that is a tough way to go out. I was gassing this team up heading into that final round, and we lost. We lost bad. And the reason we lost this isn't because of the top 6. They were incredible. The bottom 6 was not holding it down. That was the weakness on this team. The goaltending numbers, okay, those were not good as well. Palmieri, what is this? An 889 and a 335? Bro, you gotta stop the puck once in a while. Alright, so Buffalo, your first round pick this season doesn't really have any value as the 27th overall, so I'm going to send that over to you, and you're going to give me your first rounder for next season, which we're going to use in a trade during the offseason this time. I'm going to use your pick, someone else's pick, and our pick in one massive trade, and we're going to get a franchise potential player. I'm capping about that, but we are going to get a really good player with these draft picks. And the next team that's going to be giving me their first round pick is going to be the Dallas Stars. It's going to cost us a first rounder, which is the 32nd overall, and a 5th rounder. So after making those trades, I wasn't really expecting anything in the draft here, but I'll take a medium league potential goaltender 93rd overall. And we're not quite done there, because with the 126th overall pick, we're going to be getting a low league potential two-way forward. And the best part about this guy was he was a gem, so you already know he's going to develop into a great player. No, real talk, this has been a fantastic draft for us. Another low league potential player, this one 131st overall. We just keep on bringing these studs onto the team. Okay, Petrov, this is a fantastic deal. 3 years at 1.7 million. I'll take that any day of the week. And then outside of that move right here, we're not going to be bringing anyone back. All right, so this offseason is going to be the biggest one of our lives. Bedard, Carlson, Fantilli all need extensions. Obviously, we're starting with Connor Bedard. So I'm not going to lie, Bedard's going to be a bit pricey here. We're going to be looking at 12.3 for the next 8 years. That's going to keep him on the team till he's 35. But that's also not guaranteed to be the end of this video. It just depends on who retires first. If all these guys play till they're 40, we could be here for a minute. So Leo Carlsson's not really going to be doing us any solids here, but you know what? I can't really complain about this deal. We're going to be doing 11.1 million for the next 8 years as well. And then I'm happy to say we actually are going to sign one of these guys under $10 million. That's going to be Adam Fantilli. We're looking at 9.5 for the next 8 years. However, through making all these deals right here, we do have to make a trade to free up a bit of money. Also, Parker, you're not coming back next season. You want 10 million as well. We're going to ride out your contract for this season, qualify you as an RFA, then we'll trade you away. All right, so with Bedard, Leo Carlsson, Fantilli all getting those extensions, we do have to clear up some money here. Michael Misa, unfortunately, we're going to be losing you today. You've been a great piece to this team, but this defenseman we're about to pick up is going to be an even better piece. He's an 84 overall. He's got an X factor, plays on the right side. That's exactly where we need him to play. If he fits on the third defensive pairing, that would be great, but I don't really care where you fit on this team. You're going to be a nice upgrade. A first-round pick from the Buffalo Sabres, and Michael Misa is being sent over to the Dallas Stars. Unfortunately, they're going to be saying no right off the bat here, but I know for a fact we can get a deal done. So here's a second round pick as well. This should be more than enough. Surprisingly, this isn't going to be enough though, but maybe a fifth rounder will be as well. So here's a fifth rounder from the Atlanta Dragons. All of this sent over to the Dallas Stars, and they're still saying no. Maybe we got to do a second and a third rounder. I'm willing to give up quite a bit here. Here's Buffalo's third round pick for next season. I guess this season I'm doing a lot of yapping here, but you know what? Here's a fourth round pick as well. We are trading a ton of picks away here, but if we can get this deal done, it's going to be well worth it. How are we going to get this deal done? I have no clue, because I thought they would have accepted by now. So maybe they just want a second round pick for next season. So a 2034 second round pick and a 2035 second round pick. I'm sending that over. Unfortunately, they're going to be saying no here. I'll give you Buffalo's third round pick. All of this for one defenseman. They're still saying no. Okay, we got to do a 3-team trade here. I got to send some of these assets they don't want over to another team. Or, hear me out, Kane. He's 22 years old, a 66 overall with medium elite potential. The fact that he's 22 years old, only a 66 overall, that tells me he's not really going to develop into anything. So hypothetically, could we do a second round pick, a third round pick, and Kane over to the Dallas Stars and get this defenseman? They're going to say no to this deal. I am willing to do 2 second rounders, but I do think we're actually cooking here. So 2 second rounders, a third, and Kane sent over to the Stars. They're going to be saying no here. We might have to do a first round pick as well. But what if we do Atlanta's first round pick? So I take out that second rounder and we do this package right here for that defenseman. There we go. Now we'll send Michael Misa over to some other team, get some draft picks from him, clear up some money. No, we're really thinking right here. So I forgot to unpause the recording, but I just sent Michael Misa over to the St. Louis Blues for a second rounder because I wanted to play for another historic franchise. So we got to get one more defenseman to finish it off here. It's going to be 2 first round picks, one from the Stars, one from the Sabres, and we're picking up this medium elite potential defenseman. He's going to be a great guy for our left side, an 83 overall, and he's got an X factor. Ideally, you give me a second, third rounder back. I am so surprised that deal just went through. So that's huge for us. We just got an elite defenseman. He's going to join the team this season. He's under contract for the next 2 years. We have enough guys under contract to fill out a roster, and now we're ready to compete for another Stanley Cup. All right, so we got $9 million to work with. Why not give a guy like Roope Hintz a deal? We'll do $5 million for next season. He can be a good bottom 6 guy for us. Supposedly he fits on the third line, but then again, so did Mika Zibanejad, and look how that worked out for us. All right, so no cap, there is a very good chance that we're winning 60 plus games this season. Bedard a 96, Leo Carlsson a 91, Adam Fantilli an 85. The entire top 6 here is X factors, and they have a lot of them. Ivanov, he's an 89 overall. The bottom 6 is looking great, but now you gotta look at our defense. With the guys we acquired here, this defense is looking absolutely spectacular. An 85 overall, an 83 overall, the lowest overall being Hurd. He's an 81, but we can definitely live with that. On top of that, Palmieri's back up to a 90 overall. He's ready to get a superstar X factor, and he's ready to win this team another Stanley Cup. All right, so the goal of 65 wins is already dead here. This team's been a massive disappointment. Yeah, we're third in the entire league. We're one of the best here, but even still, we should be way better considering what our team has. Now, what's really the issue on this team? Clearly, the top guys are playing great here. No issue there whatsoever. However, it looks like the bottom 6 could use a bit of help. I guess picking up a player for the bottom 6 wouldn't necessarily be the end of the world here. Goaltending wise, Palmieri, 32 wins, 2 shutouts. I don't care about these numbers right here because I know you can step it up when it matters most in the postseason. Alright, so I've looked long and hard here for who we could potentially bring to the team, and honestly, nothing really makes a lot of sense for our team. Like a guy like Jack Eichel, we could bring in at 50% retained. However, he doesn't have good line fits with the team, especially the bottom 6, so it really just doesn't make sense. So I think we're going to rock with the team we have here. Jeremy Swayman, he's currently on the trade block. He used to be our goaltender. I believe you want us to Stanley Cup, but Palmieri's that guy now, so we don't really need you. I'm going to go ahead, simulate to the end of the season, and we'll rock with what we have. Well, I guess not making any trades definitely worked out for this team because we're first in the entire league with a 56-20-6 record, scoring almost 4 goals per game, and the defense below 3. In our final 17 games, or however many we had left, we were nearly perfect. And we were nearly perfect with only 2 guys averaging over a point a game. That's going to be Connor Bedard, 92 points, 41 goals, and Leo Carlsson, 31 goals, 54 assists for 85 points. These 2 guys carrying the way like usual. Fantilli, 70 points, can't complain about that. He's been a great piece for us this entire rebuild. And Palmieri, 46 wins, 3 shouts, a 908 and a 279. Okay, this is a massive step up after the trade deadline. And with the way this team's rolling, I don't think anyone's going to be able to stop us. And Jeremy Swayman, you're certainly not going to be able to stop us because that's who we're going to be meeting in the first round as we're taking on Montreal. Okay, so just for a bit of context, after the trade deadline, this was the only game we lost. We lost 1-0 to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Other than that, we were perfect to finish out the season. So when I said we were near perfect, I wasn't kidding. However, our win streak's going to immediately end in game number 1, but that's fine because we're starting a new win streak here. We have a 3-1 series lead, and in game 5, we're going to make it 4 straight. So after finishing the season out nearly perfect, we almost swept the Montreal Canadiens. Unfortunately, we did lose game 1, but we won 4 straight right after that. Now Detroit, I don't think you're ready for us. So we won game 1 and game 2, so that made 6 straight wins. But unfortunately, we're going to be dropping 2 straight after that. That's going to be perfectly fine because we're not losing 3 in a row. We're going to be taking that one 2-1. And in game 6, hopefully we're going to be closing it out here. But it doesn't look like that's going to be happening, so we're off to game 7. So here we go, game 7. Whoever wins this is off to the conference finals. And we always make the conference finals. But maybe not this time because we're currently down 1-0 entering the 3rd period. We've got to bounce back big time here. Brock Faber, he's going to be picking up a goal, but I did not see these other 4 goals. Yeah, we're out in the 2nd round. When the scoring first loaded in, I just saw Brock Faber and I didn't see these other 5 goals scored. I mean, Leo Carlsson picked up 1. But yeah, these 4 Detroit goals, I did not see those right off the bat. I thought we were off to overtime. I guess not. So it looks like the Blackhawks are finally able to complete their rebuild and they're going to be winning a Stanley Cup without Connor Bedard. But you know what? I'm very upset with how this team performed. A 2nd round exit. When was the last time we lost in the 2nd round? That doesn't happen very often. We made the conference finals for like 6-7 years in a row. We got to get back to that success. We're going to be making the Stanley Cup final next season and we're going to be taking it home in 5 games. Now, real talk, what was the issue with this team? Well, Connor Bedard having 12 points and being -3, that doesn't really help the cause here. And the goaltending numbers, not too bad from Palmieri, 7 wins, a 916 to 262. I think the offense let us down because those numbers right there, they should win us a Stanley Cup. Okay, so my thought might have been just reincarnated. If you know, you know. Projected 44th overall. We have the 44th overall pick. I'm going to be selecting him right here. He doesn't have medium elite potential though, so maybe he didn't get reincarnated. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you're missing out. So although Mathot doesn't have medium elite potential, this guy is, as we're going to be drafting him 95th overall. That's not going to be the only elite potential player we're going to be getting because we're also going to be getting this low elite potential one. He's a defensive defenseman and we're selecting him 161st overall. So late in the draft here, even if we take a massive swing and it's a big risk, at best we're getting a top 4 potential player. So I'd rather pick up a 3rd and 4th rounder from the Buffalo Sabres. Unfortunately, they're going to be saying no to this deal, but what if I take out the 4th and make it a 5th rounder? So if we do a deal like this instead, are you going to accept it? There we go. We're picking up a 3rd and a 5th. So when it comes to the re-sign phase, not too much needs to happen here. We just have to qualify Parker as an RFA and then trade him away. We don't have the money to keep him on this team. He wants 7.8 million. We have 5.3. So just based on math, that's not going to happen. So after not making any moves during the re-sign phase, we do have to make a couple signings here. We're going to start with Ivanov. We're doing 11.6 for the next 8 years. Now with the rest of the team, I have no clue what we're going to do. We're probably going to ride out Kemmel's contract because he's been a great player for us, but we're not going to have the money to re-sign him. This defenseman right here with medium elite potential, he's not coming back. We don't have the money for him. A lot of these depth pieces are also going to be leaving the team. We're going to go through a big turnover, but we're still going to be in a good position. So Parker, thank you for all the great years here, but now you're going to be shipped out, and we're going to send you to the Stanley Cup champion Chicago Blackhawks. We're going to get a second and third rounder, and we're not done there because Jordan, we're also going to be shipping you out. We just got to clear up that money, $9.5 million. It's not worth it anymore. Sam Dickinson wouldn't be a bad pickup, but you know what? I think I'd rather get 2 second-round picks from the Carolina Hurricanes. So now that we got rid of Jordan, we do need to sign one player, and I think that's going to be Trent Frederic. He'll help on the bottom 6 here, 3.5 for next season. Outside of that, although our team's going to be worse because we did lose Jordan, I have a replacement for him. And surprisingly, the replacement's already on our team. So here's part of the high risk, high reward move we're going to be doing. Wheeler, we're going to be giving you a long-term extension here. We're looking at 3.3 for the next 8 years. You're going to accept this deal, and then we're going to put you on the top 6. And not just the top 6. You're playing first line mans from here on out. On top of that, I also want to have multiple elite defensemen here. So Normie, I'm giving you 8.5 for the next 8 years. So we're going to be holding on to 3 absolutely elite defensemen, and with the other 3 defensive slots we have, we'll just fill it with depth guys. So this is what we're going to be looking at. Connor Bedard, Leo Carlsson, Adam Fantilli, Kemel Ivanov, and then Wheeler's jumping up to the first line. He doesn't have a good fit here, but you know what? We're going to make it work. The bottom 6 is still looking strong. I have no issues with that. While the defensive pairings, they're looking absolutely fantastic. Culp and Brock Faber, they're going to be amazing. Normie, I'm going to be keeping him long term here. He's an 86 overall. And then with the rest of these pairings right here, we're just going to be filling them out as time goes on. The goaltending, Palmieri, he's still the guy for us. We already know that. Nothing's going to be changing in between the pipes. I also forgot to mention I did give our backup goaltender an extension, 2 years at $900K. It's an absolute steal for an 81 overall. This team's going to continue to look fantastic. We're going to finish first in the entire league, but this time we're not losing in the second round. We're going on a deep postseason run. So right now the boys are flying once again, third in the entire league with a 42, 17, and 6 record. The LA Kings though, gotta give them some props. They're looking fantastic as well. Our offense could be better, 3.5 goals per game, but that defense of 2.71, that's what matters the most. If you can play good defense, you can win Stanley Cups, but you also need to be able to score goals. Bedard, 68 points here, that's great. Leo Carlsson, 67, but there's one man I'm very curious to see about what he's doing this season, and so far it's not looking too good. Wheeler, 36 points on the first line. You have 36 points on the first line. Okay, you're not really giving me a lot of confidence here. We might be trading for a forward. All right, so I've been looking at what's available here, and honestly, there's not really any good deals. There's a bunch of playmakers available, but we don't need a playmaker because we have Leo Carlsson. And what makes it even more difficult is a lot of these guys are on multi-year deals, so I don't want to bring somebody on the team that we're going to have for the next 6 seasons. We also can't bring in a player that's on a multi-year deal because then we're over the salary cap for next season. Simple solution here, don't make a trade and just ride the season out. We have a 42, 17, and 6 record. We're going to be perfectly fine even without making a trade. Alright, so the Atlanta Dragons, obviously they're going to be a top 3 team here. A 51, 25, and 6 record. Offense is pretty solid. Defense is great. This team's going to show up in the postseason. I'm not too worried. I mean, I take that back because I am slightly worried. Bedard, 90 points. Leo Carlsson, 90 points. No problem with the top guys here. Wheeler, on the other hand, I was expecting you to do a lot better this season. 83 overall. You only picked up 49 points. I mean, 49 points is still pretty good. You were plus 22. You're going to keep on getting better. So you know what? I'm actually not too worried in this team, and I'm not worried in you. Meanwhile, the goaltending numbers, 40 wins from Palmieri, 0 shutouts this season. We did have a 907 and a 290. He's going to step it up in the postseason like he always does. And in the first round, it looks like we're taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. We might be in the year 2035, but Tampa's still going to be a solid team. So this is going to be a tough matchup. All right, so plain and simple, we smoked the Tampa Bay Lightning. Shut them out in game 3. 7 goals in game 2, 10 goals in game number 1. These first 3 games, they just quit after that. So all I'm going to say is the Florida Panthers are absolute frauds, swept to the Boston Bruins. And what makes it even worse, Boston's a 38 win team. Atlanta, if you lose to the Boston Bruins, we're going to have problems. All right, boys, what are we doing here? We split the series 2 games apiece. They're a 38 win team. We're winning game 5. That's a massive one. We can't be going to game 7 here. We got to close it out. That's exactly what's happening. And now we got the Washington Capitals in the conference finals. We've taken on Washington a handful of times in the conference finals, but so far things aren't going our way. Things are not going our way in the slightest. We're currently down 3-1 in the series, but now we're sparking the comeback. A big win in game number 5, and ideally a big win in game 6 is going to force game 7 8-1. We just won that game 8-1. We have all the momentum. We're 1 game away from the Stanley Cup final. So here we go, game 7 of the conference finals. Winners off to the Stanley Cup final, and so far we're looking pretty solid. Picked up the first 2 goals of the game, and in the third period we're going to be picking up another one. Palmieri's got the shutout. Ivanov's picking up 2 goals. We're Stanley Cup bound once again. So it all comes down to this. 2 of the top teams matching up. The LA Kings taking on the Atlanta Dragons. We should have taken on Florida in this postseason. But you know what? They're complete frauds. Losing to Boston. We don't care about Florida anymore. The only team we care about, the LA Kings. That's who our next matchup's against. So here we go, the Stanley Cup final. Can the Atlanta Dragons take home another Stanley Cup? We've split the series so far, and Game 5 is going to be a massive one. Unfortunately, we're dropping that one. But you know what? I have confidence in this team. We're responding in Game 6, and we're off to Game 7. I told y'all that was going to happen. Now, there's a ton of top players on our team, so the big-time players are going to show out. But who's going to be the biggest player of the day? Wheeler, he's picking up the first goal of the game, but Clark's going to be responding. Lemieux, he's going to be scoring for LA, so we're entering the third period. We got to come back in this game. We got to pick up some goals here, and unfortunately, that's not going to be happening. LA is going to be picking up another one, and we're falling in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. Connor Bedard, I'm so sorry we couldn't win. You had 27 points in 25 games. We should have been taking home that Stanley Cup. Now, why did we lose in this Stanley Cup run? Very simple. Wheeler, you were playing first line minutes, and what did you do during the postseason? 12 points in 25 games. I am supposed to rely on you. You are supposed to be one of the top guys here, and you just didn't perform. I mean, the bottom 6 wasn't that great. The goaltending, it could have been better, but you know what? A 909 to 273, I can't really complain about that. Wheeler's the reason we lost. I'm blaming him. So you already know it's that time of year where we trade for first round picks, and then those first round picks skyrocket in value once the offseason starts. We're picking up a first rounder from the Florida Panthers. That's the first of many moves that are going to be happening here. The next first round pick we're getting is coming from the LA Kings. We're giving up 2 second rounders and a 5th round pick. And the final first round pick we're going to be acquiring is coming from the Minnesota Wild. 2 third rounders, a 4th rounder, and a 2nd. So we're going to have 4 first round picks to work with over the offseason, and we also have a couple more draft picks we can use right now. And thankfully we didn't trade all of our picks here because we're getting a low league potential player who's a 70 overall, 165th overall. Securing a 70 overall player this late in the draft is massive. There's like a 99.9% chance that this guy develops into like a 97 overall. Don't quote me on that math. And we're not done there because with the 197th overall, we're getting another low elite potential playmaker. Alright, so when it comes to the re-sign phase, not too much is going to be happening here. Kemmel, we're going to be letting you walk. You're 31 years old. You want 8.5 million. We just can't afford that at this point in time. Okay, so we got some ridiculous cap gymnastics to do over the next couple of years. But man, our team could be looking absolutely elite. Culp, we're potentially trading you away, and then this defenseman right here we might be keeping now. The reason that I might be trading Culp away is because this man wants $11.4 million on a 5-year deal. However, if we sign this defenseman right here who's 2 overalls less and 7 years younger, we can get him on an 8-year deal probably around $6.6 million. I don't know how we're going to be able to spin the cap like this, but you know what? It's time for me to go to work. Alright, so Lemieux, you picked up a goal against us in the Stanley Cup final, and I never want that to happen again. So I'm going to be acquiring you. Culp and a 3rd round pick's being sent over to the LA Kings. They're going to be saying no to that deal, but you know what? We have a lot of draft picks we can work with. I mean a ton. I did not realize how many first round picks we have, but you know what? We're going to get a deal done like this, and we didn't even have to give up a first rounder. On top of that, we now have enough money to bring back this defenseman who has medium elite potential, and we're looking at 6.5 for the next 8 years. So not only are we saving money here, but he's got some medium elite potential, and those guys usually turn into solid players. Okay, not gonna lie, this deal is gonna be wild for us. A first rounder from the LA Kings and our first round pick for this season sent over to the Philadelphia Flyers, and we're getting an 86 overall defenseman. I think there's a very good chance they accept this deal. They're gonna be saying no here, but you know what? We're going to find a way to get this deal done. We're probably going to hold on to Minnesota's first round pick and Florida's first round pick because those are going to have value over the next couple of years. So what if I give you Carolina's 2nd round pick? So 2 first rounders and a 2nd, and we get that medium elite potential defenseman. That was such an easy deal to get done. Alright, so we had some changes over the offseason here. Our top 9 is absolutely incredible. The only issue is we have a handful of guys playing out of position because for some reason I cannot find right wingers anymore. All of the auto-generated players that have came into the game are all left wingers. I don't know why that's the case, but you know what? We're going to have some left wingers playing on the right side. Ferguson, he's jumping into the lineup here. He's only a 77 overall, but he does have medium elite potential. I want him getting some reps this season. Defensively, we're looking pretty strong here. Our top 4 is absolutely incredible. An 85 overall is the lowest here. An 85 overall is the lowest on the top 4, so you know what? That means we're destined for success. And Palmieri, he's still 90 overall. I'm a bit surprised he hasn't got a superstar X factor yet, but you know what? I'm not going to worry too much about it. I know this guy can win a Stanley Cup because he's done it before, and now it's time for us to get another. We got to make it back to the Stanley Cup final, and we got to get revenge against those LA Kings. And I'm also going to mention right now, we're not making any trades at the trade deadline. We basically have absolutely no salary cap whatsoever, so that means if we're going to be picking any players up, we have to trade players away, and I don't want to trade anyone away on this team. So it's happened again. We've been a 55 win team, and that means we're second in the entire league because the Vancouver Canucks are going to win 59 games. But you know what? I don't really care too much about Vancouver. We know for a fact that team's not winning the Stanley Cup. Our offense wasn't that great, 3.49, but the defense absolutely spectacular. This team's been known for their defense, and the past couple years we've been showing that off. And it's kind of funny that we're known for our defense, and I just realized we didn't have a single player over a point a game. Connor Bedard, 81 points in 82 games. That didn't happen. That did not just happen there. Paul Mary, I definitely can't complain about these numbers. 49 wins, 8 shots, a 919 to 240. You know what? I know for a fact our offense always steps up in the postseason, and with our defense looking this good, I think we're set for a Stanley Cup run. We have the Boston Bruins in the first round. All I'm going to say about the Boston Bruins is they won 38 games. So you know how I said the Boston Bruins were a 38 win team? I take it back. They were a 36 win team. Like, they were just awful. I have no clue how they made the postseason. Alright, so we got past the Boston Bruins, but obviously that was just the warm-up for us. The Florida Panthers, they choked in the first round to the Boston Bruins last year. We showed them how to not choke to the Boston Bruins, but now they've got a bit more experience under their belt. They're looking to put up a good fight against us. So we've been going back and forth with the Florida Panthers. Obviously, they're going to be putting up a solid fight against us, but it's never going to be enough because the Atlanta Dragons are just built different, and we're going to close this out in 7 games. Because Florida's winning game 6. So here we go, game 7. This is going to be a big one for us. But of course, the Atlanta Dragons are going to be showing out here. We've tied the game up in the second period. So the third period is going to be the deciding one. Are we going to be showing out here? It doesn't look like we are, but the Florida Panthers aren't as well. So that means we're off to overtime. The next goal wins. And the next goal is going to send one of these teams to the conference finals. And it looks like that's going to be the Florida Panthers as we're choking. That's a tough one for us. I honestly thought we were going to go on a deep Stanley Cup run here, considering this team was second in the entire league. And we had the greatest offense of all time. Not offense. What am I talking about? The greatest defense of all time. I mean, it wasn't the greatest defense of all time, but I'm just yapping here. We should have won, and Florida wins the Stanley Cup. We also have Florida's first round pick. I just realized that. So yeah, that's not going to have a lot of trade value, but we do have Minnesota's pick. And what's Minnesota's pick looking like? Nothing. They made the playoffs, so that's not going to be valuable either. So the Philadelphia Flyers just selected DeLuca here. He's an 81 overall, 4th round draft pick, a top 4 potential forward. I think we could bring him onto this team, and I think he could be a very valuable player for us. He can play on both the left and right side, and that means quite a bit. So the 20th overall and the 33rd overall, obviously that's not going to be enough, but we do have some other good assets here. I'll include our 61st overall pick. I'll send that over as well. You know what? I'm willing to put quite a bit into a deal like this. I will give you 3 first round picks if we have to, but I don't necessarily want to do 3 first round picks, so maybe another second can make the difference. Unfortunately not. We're doing 3 first round picks. I feel like this guy could be a very good asset for our team, so 3 first round picks for him. That's quite a bit. They're still going to be saying no here. We got some more assets we can work with here. Basically, we have more draft picks we can work with, because who cares about drafting when you're getting players like this? It's going to be 3 first round picks and 2 second round picks for 1 elite potential player. That's too low. You're joking me. Okay, this is the plan. We're going to trade for draft picks that are going to spring up in trade value, and then I'm going to trade those draft picks over to the Philadelphia Flyers to get this man in the offseason. So we can definitely get this first round pick from the Chicago Blackhawks, but I think we can also get a 3rd rounder as well. They're going to be saying no here, but what if I give you a 7th rounder? The 226th overall pick, is that going to make the difference? There we go. We got 1 first round pick. We're about to acquire a couple more. The next first round pick we're going to be picking up is coming from the Colorado Avalanche, as I'm throwing in that Ottawa Senators 3rd round pick that we just acquired. We didn't get this pick from the Ottawa Senators. Of course, we got it from the Chicago Blackhawks, but hey, now it's off to Colorado. It doesn't really matter which pick it was. We got a deal done. And then this is going to be the final trade here, a 2nd rounder, a 3rd rounder, and a 5th rounder, as well as one of our prospects over to the Seattle Kraken for their first round pick for next season. Now that we have all those first round picks, we're going to be able to acquire that player from the Philadelphia Flyers. So the only extension we gave out here during the re-sign phase was I gave a deal to Ferguson. It's 2.3 for the next 2 years. Other than that, we're qualifying 1 RFA, and we're letting a handful of guys walk here. Now, Philly, you could have had 3 first round picks and 2 second rounders. We're going to start off with a package like this: Seattle's first and our 2nd rounder. You could have had 3 first round picks and 2 second rounders, but you said no because you wanted a 1st and a 2nd rounder. You guys are absolute idiots. And that's not going to be the only trade we do here, because these first round picks have so much value. It's a bit ridiculous. Matthew Keeling, we're going to be picking you up from the Boston Bruins. Here's Colorado's first round pick. They're going to be saying no to that. What if I give you Chicago's first round pick as well? Actually, that's wilding. How about I just give you our third round pick for next season? And I think all of this is going to be enough to get the deal done. Unfortunately, it's not going to be, but that just means we need to add a 7th rounder into the deal. We've picked up 2 elite potential players. They both have X factors. Keeling's only going to be here for the 1 season, but you know what? We'll qualify him as an RFA next season, then just trade him away. So here's the backup goaltender we're bringing in. He's 23 years old, medium star potential. He's an 81 overall. He has the potential to develop into an 83 overall over the next couple years. I wouldn't mind having an 83 overall as our backup. All right, before we begin the season, Mathers, you've been a great player for us, and I want to pay you accordingly, so we're giving you a 5x5. That's a pretty reasonable deal for you. Now, when it comes to everybody else on this team, I have absolutely no clue what we're going to do. All right, so for this season, we're going to try something new. I don't care about line fits whatsoever. As long as we can have a playmaker, a sniper, and a 2-way forward, then we're going to be fine. Keeling has a terrible line fit on the second line, but he's going to be playing alongside Fantilli and Ivanov, and I think he's going to make up for it. Our bottom 6 doesn't have the greatest line fits in the world, but on every single line, we have a playmaker, a 2-way forward, and a sniper. Well, I mean, except for the second line here, because Fantilli, he's a power forward, but same difference. Defensively, we're still great here. Brock Faber, he's dropped to an 86 overall. He's 34 years old, but you know what? He can still play some top minutes for us. Meanwhile, the goaltending situation, even better than what it was last season. Palmieri, he's up to a 91 overall. Our backup's an 83 overall. I was hoping that he would jump up to an 83, and it looks like my wish came true. This team's definitely going to be at the top of the league. The only question I have is, are the bad line fits going to affect this team? Like Keeling, he's an 87 overall. At the end of the day, he can definitely play on this second line, but since he basically has 0 line fit here on the second line, how is that going to impact this team? And also, similar to last season, we have no money to work with, so no trades are being made. All right, so line fits mean absolutely nothing if you have superstar players. We're first in the entire league with a 55, 21, and 6 record. Our offense is the best in the entire league, and our defense is the best in the entire league. I've been going absolutely insane trying to build these teams that have incredible line fits, and then I do something like this and we're first in the entire league. Now, if we fall apart in the postseason, then maybe it actually means something. But then again, Connor Bedard, 110 points, Leo Carlsson, 99, Ivanov, 76, Keeling, he had 75 points. This man had basically 0 fit on that second line, and he just picked up 75 points, including 40 goals. Yeah, we're locked in right here. And Palmieri, 51 wins, 4 shots on 914 to 262, some of the best numbers you've ever posted. Not quite as good as last season, because last season you were absolutely fantastic. But you know what? I'll definitely take these numbers. We got to go on a Stanley Cup run, though. This team has been so good for so many years, and we really don't have that many Stanley Cups to show for it, so we got to pick up another one right here, and we're starting off with a warm-up matchup against the Detroit Red Wings. Okay, so maybe line fits actually mean something, because we split the series with Detroit here. We can't be losing Game 5. Luckily, we're going to be picking up 5 goals, and if we pick up 5 goals again here, then we're off to the second round. I guess 4 goals is going to cut it. So we've moved on to the second round here. We have the Florida Panthers to take on. This is a revenge of last season. I want to sweep these guys. I want to score 10 goals per game, shut them out every single game. We got to get our revenge. Okay, what are we doing here? We split the series with Florida. We're not losing to the Florida Panthers in back-to-back postseasons here. We got to close out in game number 6 here. We can't be going to game 7. Thankfully, the defense is going to be showing up here. Basically, every game we've won so far in the postseason, it's been our defense that's been the difference maker. So as long as we keep playing good defense, we're going to keep on winning. So we have a battle of the top teams left. The New York Islanders taking on the Atlanta Dragons. Then we have the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Vancouver Canucks. I really want Vancouver to make it to the Stanley Cup final, because I know for a fact they don't win in the Stanley Cup final. So if we're taking Vancouver on the Stanley Cup final, you might as well give us the cup early. So the defense has been holding it down. We shut out the Islanders twice so far in the series, and we're looking to close this out in game number 5 here. Another great defensive game. We're taking that one 3-1, and Vancouver, they got a 3-2 series lead. I can't wait to beat them in the Stanley Cup final. People might be under the impression that I just absolutely hate the Vancouver Canucks. I actually don't even mind the Vancouver Canucks, but for some reason in this game, Vancouver always loses in the Stanley Cup final. Like 99.9% of the time, they're losing in the Stanley Cup final. Hopefully this isn't that 2% of the time. I'm running my mouth way too much. We're going to lose here. I was talking about how Vancouver never wins in the Stanley Cup final, but here we are losing to them in 6 games. If that's not karma, I don't know what is. I'm going to take that one on the chin. I was running my mouth a bit too much. Shout out to the Vancouver Canucks. They deserve that one. Okay, Bedard, you can't be below a point a game in the postseason. Plain and simple. 10 goals in 23 games. I guess that's not too bad, but 19 points and you're our 3rd leading scorer. That can't happen again. Palmieri, I'm so sorry we let you down. 3 shots, a 925 and a 248, and we still couldn't win. That makes no sense. So you already know what we do here. Chicago's picks getting sent over to the Colorado Avalanche, requiring a future first round pick. I'll take that 4th round route and we're going to get this deal done. They're going to be saying no right off the bat. Here's the 230th overall, and that's going to be enough to make the difference. Colorado, thank you for doing business with us. And then we're going to pick up another pick here. This one's coming from the Minnesota Wild. It's going to be their first rounder for next season. On paper, this looks like a very stupid trade, but Mathers, he's dropped to an 83 overall. He's not worth $5 million anymore. Hear me out when making a move like this. It's going to be worth it for us. Now, it's going to be worth it as long as everyone lives up to their potential. We're getting a medium elite potential right winger with the 55th overall pick. With the 57th overall pick that we also got from the Vegas Golden Knights, we're getting a medium elite potential goaltender. So we traded all of those assets away, but we ended up walking away with 2 medium elite potential players. I think that's a pretty good move for us. And we're not done there because I'm going to trade one of our prospects over to the Washington Capitals for a 3rd round pick. Is this really not enough? Do I have to give you a 7th rounder as well? I don't even think we have a 7th rounder. Here's a 6th rounder as well. They're going to say they're getting an absolute steal here. Oh, I guess not. They just think this is a fair deal. This was not a fair deal in the slightest. Wait till you see the prospect we get. Because with the 76th overall pick, a medium elite potential 2-way defenseman. So after making all those moves, a medium elite potential right winger, a medium elite potential defenseman, a medium elite potential goaltender. That was definitely worth all those moves. So we got $10 million in cap space, but these are all the guys we have to sign here. I'm qualifying the RFAs. The UFAs are going to be walking here. It's sad to say, but sometimes you just got to lose some good players. I mean, to be fair, we're only losing really one good player here. But these RFAs, we're going to be trading them away. I would like to keep this guy right here. He was fantastic for us, but $12 million, just not worth it. So there is one positive heading into this season. We really don't have anyone on expiring deals. These are all the RFAs we qualified. The only notable guy on an expiring deal is Ferguson. So we're going to make some big deals here. We're going to bring in some young rookies, ideally 83 overall rookies, and they can develop over the next 3 years. But real talk, looking at our team, I think we're in a good spot. So we're going to try to pick up a guy like Niedermeyer. He has 2 years left on his contract. He's on his rookie deal at 86 overall. He can play on the right side, and that's exactly where he's going to be playing. Unfortunately, Keeling's not going to be enough here, but I don't think we're gonna have to add too much more to this deal. Maybe a 4th round pick. Ideally, I don't want to do much more in a 4th rounder, but it looks like that's gonna be enough. All right, so that defenseman we qualified as an RFA, he's actually gonna be returning to the team because I did not realize how fast Brock Faber has declined. He's an 83 overall. His contract's not gonna be looking good in a couple seasons. Which team wants to take on this Brock Faber contract? If you have cap space, I'm trading him to you. Okay, so I think my theory was right about right wingers because there's like very few right wingers. I went through every single team up to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I went through about 8 or 9 teams. On average, the highest overall right winger on each team is like an 81 overall. So right wingers have just not been appearing in the drafts. Also, Brock Faber, we have to trade you away. You're an 83 overall. I don't know what it's going to take to get a guy like Reed, but he's definitely going to be worth it. But I completely forgot. We have 1st round picks we can work with. So I'll give you Colorado's 1st round pick for this upcoming season. And then you give me a couple 2nd rounders back. How about a 2nd rounder from Edmonton and your 2nd rounder? So this is going to be a very simple deal to get done. I'm actually very surprised they accepted that right off the rip. But you know what? Reed's going to be playing some top 6 minutes for us, and he's on a great contract. I like that move. And then Reckies, I honestly did not expect you to be accepting a deal like this, but this is actually going to work out very well for us. We're going to be looking at sub $11 million. It's going to be 10.9 for the next 8 years. That's a great deal for us. You're going to be replacing Brock Faber. Well, not really, because you don't play on the right side. But you know what? We're keeping 3 amazing defensemen around long term. We just got to pick up some more depth pieces. All right, so the Arizona Coyotes, they have a good right defenseman, 80 overall. He can play some bottom pairing minutes for us. So here's 2 RFAs and a 5th round pick. So unfortunately, Reckies declined our deal, but I actually think we're going to get him a bit cheaper, and we're going to be doing 1 less year. We're going to be doing 10.7 for the next 7. To be fair, I don't see this rebuild going on 7 more years, but if the big 3 keeps playing at such a high level, you never know how long we're going to be here. Okay, Reckies declined like 3 contracts in a row here, but we're finally locking them down long term. It's going to be 11.1 million for the next 7. So a deal like this is actually pretty solid with Stromberg. We're picking him up in free agency here, 1.9 million for the next 3 years. Considering what similar overalls are asking for, 1.9 million for the next 3 is going to be a very good deal for us. This man has been sitting in front of my eyes, and obviously we're bringing him back. Mackie Samoskevich, welcome back to the team. We're we're going on another Stanley Cup run with you. So of course we learn from our mistakes, and our mistakes were that line fits mean absolutely nothing. Niedermayer, you're playing on the top line alongside Bedard and Carlson. Ivanov, Fantilli, Reed, that's going to be the second line. The bottom six has a ton of guys with X factors. We're going to be looking pretty solid here. We're definitely going to be a 55 win team, ideally a 65 win team, but that never seems to happen anymore. The defense here, it's a pretty strong core, the lowest overall being a 79, but I can definitely live with that because we have a 91 overall goaltender in Palmieri, one of the best in the entire game, but he has reached 31 years old, so he's going to start declining quick, but we don't got to worry because we have a great backup in the system. 22 years old, 81 overall, medium league potential. He might be taking the reins sooner than we think. Also, shout out to Mathot because he's here as well. And I might as well just mention this, from here on out, we're just going to simulate to the end of the season. We don't have any money to work with, and in order to free up money, that means we have to trade good players away, and I don't want to trade anyone on our team away. We have superstars here and superstars only. And then we go ahead and lose the first preseason game 6-3. Okay, thanks for proving my point. So it should be no surprise the Atlanta Dragons are going to be a top team this season, as we're going to be having another 51 win season. The offense was incredible. We're picking up over 4 goals per game. I shouldn't say over 4 goals a game. It was 4 goals per game exactly. Connor Bedard, 97 points. That's great. Carlson, 93. Niedermayer, he was a great pickup for us. 85 points, including 45 goals. The team's absolutely rolling right now. And the goaltending, not too bad numbers. 44 wins, 3 shots, a 903 and a 298. Certainly not the best numbers from Palmieri. But you know what? The postseason's a different animal, and I know this guy can show up when it matters most. And we better show up early on because we do have a tough matchup to start off the postseason. We got the New York Islanders up first. Now, I told y'all this was going to be a tough first round matchup for us, but even this I did not see coming. We're down 3-1 in the series. Ain't no way we're losing in 5 games. We lost in 5 games. A 51 win team, and we lost in 5 games. I don't want to look at the numbers of anyone on this team. Let's just get ready for next season immediately. That was an absolute disgrace. Alright, so Nowendick just got drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning, 4th overall. He's a 75 overall with elite potential. He's going to be joining this team. However, we're not going to be trading for him right now. As you know, we're going to trade our first round picks away. We're going to get 2 more valuable first round picks, and then we'll be able to pick them up. So with that being said, let's make some trades. So this is going to be the first trade we're doing, the 26th overall over to the Columbus Blue Jackets for their future first round pick. And of course, we're not done there because we also have the 27th overall. We're going to be shipping that out too. So this is the next trade, the 27th overall and the 159th overall over to the Nashville Predators, and we're picking up their first round pick for next season. Surprisingly, they're going to be saying no to this deal. I'll throw in a 7th rounder as well. All of this right here for your first rounder for next season. We got this deal done, and Nowendick, you're going to be joining the team next season. And on top of picking up those first round picks, we make big moves here during the draft. And with the 63rd overall pick, we're getting a medium elite potential playmaker. And that's not going to be the only elite potential player we draft, because with the 97th overall, we're getting a low elite potential playmaker. Okay, so there's not really any good prospects left in the draft here, so we're going to get a future 4th round pick from the Carolina Hurricanes. So like usual in the re-sign phase, the UFAs aren't going to be coming back to the team, but we are qualifying some RFAs. Also, this next offseason is going to be a big one for us, because Palmieri, we might be saying goodbye to you. Well, we might not say goodbye, but it could potentially be your final season. Now, this is the reason I was questioning bringing Palmieri back. He's an 89 overall, 32 years old. He is getting up there in age, and he does want $10 million for the next 3 years. However, we do have this backup, 81 overall at 23 years old. He's got medium elite potential, and we could technically lock him down to a long-term deal here at $7.7 million. I think we got to risk it here. I think we got to do 8 years at $7.7 million. We actually could probably get him cheaper than that, and then he'll be our goaltender for the rest of this video. So this is what our deal is going to be looking like here. It's going to be $6.8 million for the next 8 years, and he's going to be our guy. We're going to be saving about $2 million here. I think that's worth it. Now, when it comes to the rest of the guys on expiring deals here, we're going to do what we can. Both of these guys are going to be walking away because they're a 76 overall and 75 overall. This guy's also going to be leaving the team. Hurd, he played some big minutes for us, but he's going to want like $9 million probably. He's an 81 overall. He'll want 7.3 for an 81. See, like, that's just not happening. These 2 RFAs we're going to trade away. Niedermayer, we might be able to bring you back next season depending on how much the salary cap jumps. So this deal right here is going to be a maybe. Alright, so we already know what was happening. We're picking up Nowendick from the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's got medium elite potential. He can play on the right side. That's exactly where he's going to be playing. I don't know why I keep saying the right side. He's going to be one of our right wingers. I mean, I guess that is the right side. Doesn't really matter. We're going to get 2 4th round picks as well. Yeah, if we were to try to trade for him at the draft, that wasn't happening. But right here, we're going to be able to. Now, this is going to be the next trade we do. We're picking up Stewart from the Philadelphia Flyers. 2 years left on his contract. He's an 82 overall. He's got medium elite potential, and he's got some X factors. I'm going to be sending one of our medium elite potential players along with the 1st round pick over to Philly, and I think that might be enough. Unfortunately, they're going to be saying no. But you know what? We have an RFA that we qualified that we can also add into this deal. So here's Ferguson. I don't think he's going to be enough to be the difference. It doesn't look like it. But you know what? We have multiple RFAs we can throw into this deal. So here's another RFA that's a defenseman. All of this is being sent over for Stewart, and we're getting this deal done. So we've gone to free agency, and I found an absolute steal here. We're going to be doing a 7-year contract with a 78 overall, but the reason we're doing that is I can sign him for $2 million. At this price point, you might think I'm crazy, but as I pointed out last season, look at what everyone else around him is asking for. This deal is going to age very well for us. Like, we get up to an 80 overall, and they're looking for $7 million. It's just ridiculous. Surprisingly, this guy actually declined our first deal, which works out for us because now we're doing 5 years at 1.9 million. To be fair, I can't see this rebuild going any longer than 5 years. Bedard, Fantilli, and Carlson, they're all 33 years old at this point. So, I mean, I can't see them all playing until they're 38. One of them's going to retire by then. So, at 33 years old, I'm actually pretty happy with how the team's looking. Bedard's a 96 overall. Leo Carlson a 91. Fantilli's dropped to an 88, but still an 88 overall at 33 years old, and he's showing no signs of declining. I think this team's going to be all right. Our forward core is absolutely impeccable. The defense is pretty solid too, led by these two guys right at the top. And the goaltending, Palmieri, this is going to be your final season with the team. Cap it off with the Stanley Cup. And then Holmes, you're going to be taking over next season. All right, so we're the best team in the league by far. No one can compete with us. A 62-18-2 record, over 4 goals per game, and we have the best defense. Below 3 goals a game, we might be the only team. We're the only team below 3 goals against per game. We're definitely bringing home a Stanley Cup. Palmieri, you're going to finish it off with a great cup run. You'll love to see it. The scoring on this team, absolutely incredible. Bedard, 103 points. Leo Carlson, 93 points. Fantilli, 75. The entire core is looking good here, and so is the goaltending numbers. These are absolutely spectacular. Holmes, when you take over next season, you're going to be in a good spot. I got nothing to complain about. This team's just rolling. Now, I'm really not concerned about the postseason because I can't see any team in the NHL beating us right now in a 4-game series. The Columbus Blue Jackets are up first. Let's just make this a quick sweep and make a statement. So the boys have been looking good so far, and in game number 5, we're going to be closing this one out. Okay, we had a 3-0 series lead. I just want to point that out. If we go to game 7, I would be very concerned, but you know what? We don't have to worry about that. We're closing it out in game 6. So we move on to the second round. No surprise there. We have the Buffalo Sabres up next. I believe we've matched up against Buffalo a handful of times in the postseason. This is going to be another win for us because I know for a fact we've never lost to Buffalo before. I'm saying that very sarcastically, but I actually don't recall if we've ever matched up against the Buffalo Sabres in the postseason. Like, we're 15 years into this rebuild. I can't remember every single matchup. So I'm very concerned here. So far, we split the series with the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, ideally, we should be closing this out, but we're about to drop 3 straight games. Okay, thankfully, we're off to game 7. I was very concerned there. An overtime win. Honestly, we shouldn't have gone to overtime, but here we are off to game 7. So here we go, game 7 against the Buffalo Sabres. Honestly, we should have swept the first 2 rounds, but you know what? I don't really care because we're going to close out in game number 7 here. I got very scared there for a second, but you know what? We're scoring 3 unanswered. Never mind, that's not 3 unanswered because Massavoy isn't on our team. I'm doing a bit of yapping here, but we are off to the conference finals. 5 goals to 3. Things are looking good. I mean, things aren't looking good. We just went to game 7 there. We should not have gone to game 7. Also, Niedermayer's our best player right now. The plan is to re-sign him. We got Philly up next. We just took a prospect away from Philly a couple years ago, or we took their first round pick. I don't really recall. All I know is we're going to be beating Philly real quick here. So let's go ahead, simulate this matchup here, make it a quick 4-game series, and move on to the Stanley Cup final. Doesn't look like that's going to be happening. Why is this team choking? I mean, it's not like we're actually choking, but I mean, we should be sweeping teams here. We're moving on to the Stanley Cup final. This was basically guaranteed from the very beginning. So here we go, the Stanley Cup final. We're taking on the 4-seeded Colorado Avalanche. We won 62 games, and now we're taking on a wildcard team. If we lose, I'm blaming it all on Palmieri. I don't care how good he's been playing. If we lose to a wildcard team, it's all his fault. So here we go, the Stanley Cup final. The Atlanta Dragons taking on the Colorado Avalanche. All right, we're rolling right now. A quick sweep over them and we're Stanley Cup champions. This should have happened in every single series, but you know what? It happened in the Stanley Cup final, and that's when it matters most. So Niedermayer, the plan is to bring you back. I don't know how we're going to do it, but you know what? I'm going to free up the money to bring you back. Bedard, absolutely fantastic. Leo Carlson, you were great. Adam Fantilli, 18 points here in 23 games. I can't complain about any of this. And Palmieri, 16 wins, 1 shutout, a 913 to 274. Congrats on your final Stanley Cup with the team, but you're going to be walking in free agency. It just has to happen. We have a new guy coming up in the ranks, and Holmes, he's going to be taking over. So unfortunately, that pick we traded over to the Tampa Bay Lightning in order to get that great prospect, yeah, it's turning into the 7th overall, so maybe we should have just held on to that one. So you already know what we do at the draft. We trade for future first round picks, and that's what we're doing here with the San Jose Sharks. I'm going to be acquiring their first round pick for 5 draft picks. Okay, I'm not going to lie, this is very annoying. I planned on drafting West with the 66th overall pick, but he went 5 picks sooner. He was projected about 70th overall, but he got selected 64th. That's a tough one. Now, in order to bring back Nwendick, we are going to have to ditch Reed's contract. He's getting paid $5.7 million, and he's like an 82 overall right now. That's definitely not worth $5.7 million. So I'm shipping him along with the prospect over to the Boston Bruins, and we're getting a 7th round pick. They think they're getting a steal here, but the reason I include that prospect is they weren't taking that contract on otherwise. So I'm happy to say it doesn't matter what Niedermeyer asked for. We're going to be able to keep him on this team, and we're going to start with 11.6 for the next 7 years. Ideally, he accepts this contract right here. I don't think he will, but hey, he actually is going to be accepting it, and that's going to be a steal for us. Now, when it comes to the rest of the RFAs, you already know how it works here. We're qualifying them, and then we're going to be trading them away. DeLuca, I traded for you a couple years ago, but now you're an RFA that wants $13 million, and we can't afford that. So you, along with a 2nd round pick, is being sent over to the Devils. We're picking up Hopkins. He was just recently drafted, an 83 overall. He's got a ton of X factors, and he has 3 years left on his contract. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like a 2nd rounder in DeLuca is going to be enough, but you know what? We have other assets we can work with. So here's a 3rd rounder as well. I don't think a 3rd rounder is going to be the difference maker here. I'll do 2 2nd rounders. I mean, worst case scenario, we just use our 1st round pick, and that might be the simplest solution. So yeah, we might be doing that. Unless they accept 2 2nd rounders, they're going to say no, but they just want a 7th rounder. So here's Boston's 7th rounder. This deal is going to be completed. We don't really need to make any more changes here, but I think we will sign 1 defenseman. So we're actually not going to be signing a defenseman here. We're actually going to be trading for one, because I saw Pollock. He's an 84 overall, 2 years left on his contract. I'm definitely going to take this. So here's our 1st round pick. Now this is going to be a bit of a riskier deal for our backup, but he's got medium league potential, 22 years old, 1.9 for the next 4 years. So we were able to win a Stanley Cup last season, and I think it's safe to say our core is actually better. Look at all the X factors here. We have incredible line fits, +2, +1, +2, +5. Bedard, unfortunately, you've dropped to a 95 overall. Carlson's dropped to a 90. Fantilli's dropped to an 87. If you were to ask me, he's probably going to be the first guy to retire, but you know what? I still think we have a couple more years to compete. The defensive core is looking pretty strong. The 3rd pairing might be a bit weak, but you know what? A 78 overall and a 79 overall gain a +1 boost, it could be a lot worse. And the goaltending, Holmes, you're up to an 84 overall. This is your 1st season as the starter. You're going to get a ton of reps here, and I'm expecting by playoff time you're going to have a couple X factors and you'll be up to an 85. If you don't get any X factors and you don't become an 85 overall, this team could be in a bit of trouble, because I did give you a bag. But you know what? I believe in you. You still got medium league potential. You're going to be the guy for us. Now I can basically guarantee for the rest of this video, we're always going to be finishing 1st here. A 57, 22, and 3 record. Actually, I'm immediately taking that statement back, because we did see some guys decline here. The offense was incredible, but the defense, that stood out even more. 2.7 goals allowed per game, best in the entire league. So it was another incredible year from Connor Bedard. 105 points, 54 goals, 51 helpers. Leo Carlsson, 99 points. Niedermeyer, he's picking up 81. But what's most notable here is the decline from Fantilli. 67 points, but he's dropped to an 86 overall. He doesn't have too many years left. On top of that, he's already dropped to top 6 potential. So I think he's got about 2 more good seasons left in him. So that means we got to win 2 more Stanley Cups. And Holmes, you were absolutely incredible. 46 wins, 5 shots, a 916, a 254. Surprisingly though, you haven't gone up in overall, and you haven't got any more X factors. But you know what? These are incredible numbers, so I don't really care that you didn't progress anymore. So it's time for us to move on to the postseason, a place where we always perform. We have the Ottawa Senators in the 1st round. Let's get to work real quick here and make this a 16-0 postseason. Bruh, ain't no way this is happening. All right, so we're currently down 3-1 in the series. Not a great side for us, so it's time for us to make the comeback. A big win in Game 5. We got to get another win here in Game 6, and now we're off to Game 7. A chance at a 3-1 series comeback's on the line. Yeah, so this is basically all you need to see. The first period. We allowed 5 goals in the first period, and we're losing this game 6-2. This team's an utter disappointment. Similar to the last time we were disappointed like this, I don't even want to look at the stats for this team. I can guarantee the goaltending numbers look awful. The scoring numbers are going to look awful. We allowed 5 goals in the first period of Game 7. That's disgraceful. And to make it even worse, the Ottawa Senators are winning the Stanley Cup. Ain't no way. I mean, I'll definitely take the 10th overall pick from San Jose, though. A win is a win. We're definitely taking that any day of the week. Now, if we could do a deal like this, that would be absolutely wild. The 10th overall over to the Carolina Hurricanes, and we get their 1st round pick for the next 2 seasons. I'm offering that over. They're going to be saying no, but I really want to get this deal done, so I'm willing to throw a lot in this deal. I'll give you a 3rd round pick as well. That was a lot easier than I was expecting. The 10th overall didn't really have any great prospects. We would have got a top 6 potential player, but it would take too long for them to develop. With this move right here, we can just trade for a guy that's already ready for the NHL. Okay, I just made a deal with the Vancouver Canucks. I just threw it out there. I did not think there was a chance it would get accepted, but basically we just got a high top 6 potential prospect, a 2nd rounder, and a 3rd rounder for Stewart. He was an RFA. He definitely wasn't coming back to this team. I'm amazed they accepted that. Because that top 6 potential prospect, he's going to have 3 years left on his contract because he was just drafted, and we got a 2nd rounder and a 3rd rounder. And wait till you see what we do with those picks, because we're going to be trading them as well. So this is going to be the next prospect we're picking up. It's going to be from the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's a 79 overall. He can play some bottom 6 minutes for us. It's going to cost all of our picks right here, including a 7th rounder. I didn't think I would have to throw a 7th rounder in this deal, but if we have to, I will. Even all of this isn't enough. Okay, I'll just do a 3rd and 2nd rounder or something. So let's try 2 3rd round picks and a 4th round pick. That's not going to be enough here. I'll give you a 5th round pick as well. Basically, I just want cheap guys for the bottom 6. They're still going to be saying no to this deal, but a 7th rounder is going to be the difference. So there we go. We're picking up this man from the Tampa Bay Lightning. But we're not done there, because we're still cooking up deals. And then the next trade is going to be with the Pittsburgh Penguins. We're acquiring a 79 overall, I believe. He's a right defenseman. He can immediately join the team next season, or we give him 1 season to develop, and then we'll sign him to his rookie contract, and we'll have him for the next 3 years on a really cheap deal. Now in the re-sign phase, we already know how it works here. We're qualifying RFAs, UFAs is going to be walking. We're going to be losing Lemieux here. He was a great player, 87 overall. But you know what? Times are changing here, and we're not going to be able to keep you on this team. Especially since you want $13 million and you've been a 3rd line player for us. You have played on the 3rd line the entire time you've been here, and now you want $13 million. Why do you ever think I would offer you that? Okay, I know Adam Fantilli's declining, but what happened to Ivanov? Bro dropped to an 84 overall, lost every single X factor. We got to ditch this contract immediately. So ideally, we can use Trade Finder here and get rid of Ivanov that way. I mean, this would be the simplest way to do it. I do not care what team he goes to. The Buffalo Sabres, Calgary Flames, you know what? Give me a 4th and 6th round pick to take on 11.6 million. All right, so now Ivanov's gone. We need a replacement to play some top 6 minutes for us, and I think that could be Mason. He's an 84 overall at 19 years old, and he's a good playmaker. He's going to fill that role right there. So 2 first rounders being sent over to the Boston Bruins. I didn't expect them to accept that deal, but now that I've included this 2nd round pick, I think it's going to be more than enough. That's really not enough. You know what? I'll just do this. I won't use our 1st round picks. I'll use Carolina's because they have a bit more value. So Carolina's 1st round pick and this 2nd rounder sent over to the Boston Bruins. They're still going to be saying no here. I'll use one of Carolina's and one of our picks. So we're going to do something like this. Sent over to the Boston Bruins. They're still saying no. I don't care what it takes. Here's a 2nd rounder as well. Draft picks mean absolutely nothing to me. We're just a bit low here. So a 7th rounder is going to be a difference maker. Here's a 2041 7th round pick. Just like that, the deal's been accepted. All right, so through all the changes we're making this season, Byron, you've been an amazing player to our team, but we have to give you an extension, and you want $13 million. So we're going to acquire both from the Montreal Canadiens. He's an 86 overall. We're also going to get a 2nd round pick in this deal. Unfortunately, we did have to give 1 medium league potential prospect, but bro's like 22 years old and he's still a 64 overall, so I don't see him developing anytime soon. So we always have to pay attention to what's available in free agency here, and we're going to be securing this 79 overall for the next 3 years at $2.1 million. A 79 overall at that price, we're always going to take it. And to finish off free agency, we're going to do 1 signing here. We're giving Orpik 9.5 for next season. There's a very good chance that he's going to be signing that deal, and then we'll see how our team looks. Alright, so this could potentially be the final season because you never know what Fantilli's going to be doing. At 35 years old, he's dropped to an 84 overall. I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the season, he's down to an 81. Bedard a 93, Leo Carlsson a 90. The forward core here, absolutely spectacular. A lot of these guys are still on their rookie deals. It makes absolutely no sense the way I've managed the cap. It's not realistic in the slightest. We trade for rookies, play out their rookie deal, trade them away for other rookies, have them play out their rookie deal, trade them away. Nothing about this has been realistic, but at what point did I ever say this was going to be a realistic video? Never, because I never make realistic videos. Holmes, you're still the guy. The fact that you haven't got any X factors does scare me a little bit, but you know what? You did win us a Stanley Cup last season. Just kidding. No, you didn't. I've actually only had you play in the postseason once, and your one time in the postseason, you did this. Palmieri got us the Stanley Cup, not you. You might have to bring Palmieri back, I'm not going to lie. Holmes, you did not show up when it mattered most. So obviously, not too much to talk about when it comes to the standings. We're going to be first in the entire league here, picking up 58 wins, but there were some changes. Leo Carlsson, you're leading the way with 100 points. You heard that right. Connor Bedard is no longer at the top. He's dropped to 2nd with 92 points. Can't complain about that. But Adam Fantilli, how are things looking for you? 84 overall, top 6 potential, 0 X factors. Your time has passed, I'm sorry to say. The goaltending numbers, absolutely incredible from Holmes. 49 wins, 4 shots, a 914 and 241. He's an 85 overall, medium starter potential. How did this guy not get X factors? How does he not have medium league potential? Look at these numbers. He's the best in the entire game. But enough yapping. We're in the playoffs. We're not going to talk about what happened last postseason. Show up or shut up. So that was a nice little warm-up against the Buffalo Sabres, only allowing 4 goals in this entire series, and we're off to the 2nd round. Okay, I'm so incredibly scared here of the Ottawa Senators. They did something to us last season that I don't really want to talk about. All I know is they're very good. Okay, once we got to game 4, I was very scared after dropping 2 in a row, but game 5 is going to be the big one. We can't be dropping that one. What is wrong with this team? Why is it always the Ottawa Senators? I don't know what to say. The goaltending must have fallen apart. That was an absolute disgrace. Bedard, 11 points. Your career is basically up here. Well, it's not basically up, but Fantilli, there's a very good chance that you're going to be retiring. That man did nothing during the postseason. Fantilli, where are you? Oh my God. 2 points in 10 games. Yeah, his career's over. Plain and simple. Holmes, this ain't it. Plain and simple. Like, what happened to this team? What happened to the greatness we used to show? Because this certainly wasn't it. So the Islanders are going to be winning the Stanley Cup here. The salary cap's going to be going up a little bit. Kind of curious to see what the draft lottery results are looking like. It doesn't look like that Carolina pick that we traded away is going to have any value. But the real question is, what is going to be happening to Adam Fantilli? Is he going to be retiring here? It doesn't look like it. Actually, yes, he is. He's going to finish right here. 1,476 games played, 375 goals, 888 assists for 1,263 points. It looks like he's finally called it a career. Honestly, that's not too much of a surprise. We saw what this man did in the postseason. He's just not that guy anymore. But if we're looking at Fantilli's numbers, we got to look at everyone's numbers here. Leo Carlsson, you're going to have the same amount of games played, 1,476. In those games, you're picking up 435 goals, 1,133 assists for 1,568 points. An absolutely incredible career from you. Also, 100 points, that was one of the best seasons you've had in a long time. That might have actually tied your career high. At age 36, you're going to be tying your career high in points. Show it to you. And of course, the man that went #1 overall. Honestly, it kind of makes sense that Fantilli retired first, because it would go Fantilli, Carlsson, Bedard. I think that ended perfectly if you ask me. Bedard, 1,476 games played. We already knew this. 822 goals, 820 assists for 1,642 points. Now, I'm not going to lie with Connor Bedard. The goal scoring numbers, they just weren't really there. There was a handful of seasons you didn't pick up 50 goals, let alone 40. The first couple years were a bit slow, but then you started picking it up after that. Your career high was 61 goals. That was an incredible season, but throughout this entire rebuild, we could definitely rely on you. Now, if you somehow made it to the end of this video, comment Palmieri, because we should have kept that man around. We would have won 2 more Stanley Cups, because Holmes, he was not that guy when the postseason came around. He was an absolute fraud.